All right, welcome to the Thursday edition of Reality Checking. You know what that means? It is time for City Council Live. City Council Live is brought to you by the Philadelphia City Council. Philadelphia City Council will be meeting shortly virtually in Microsoft Teams in a virtual environment still because we are in the middle of a pandemic. So we do expect to hear from them shortly. Before I get started, I'm just going to go ahead and open up the phone lines just in the meantime while we wait for them, just in case it takes them a while to get going. 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check, or I'm sorry, here on City Council Live. This is the Thursday edition of Reality Check, so it's typically City Council Live on Thursdays. 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900. By the way, in case you're asking, I'm Charles Ellison. I'm your host, executive producer, and creator of Reality Check, but also anchor for City Council Live, our gavel-to-gavel coverage of the Philadelphia City Council, the Philadelphia City's legislature. It is the City Council. So as you see that empty room right behind me, that's how it's pretty much looking at the moment, since we're still in the middle of a pandemic, and they will be meeting virtually. We hope to hear from Philadelphia City Council President Darrell Clark very shortly. We'll start to hear his voice, and you can also hear it, listen to it, watch it as you're listening to it, as you're watching me on WURD TV. We are on WURD, by the way. It's 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURDradio.com, WURD TV, and WURD app. You can also reach me on Twitter at Ellison Report, on Twitter.com. Highly recommend that you check out Twitter, check out hashtag City Council Live. I keep that very busy during the course of these City Council sessions of the whole. So you can go to hashtag City Council Live. Also, another great place to go to at PHL Council, at PHL Council. They've been doing a better job of letting us know pieces of legislation that have been introduced during the course of those sessions of the whole, and also providing you links directly to the legislation. So as you're listening to Philadelphia City Council, you want to get to know more or learn more about them, you should have your browsers open, your laptop screens or your tablet screens open. You should be on Twitter.com at PHL Council. Twitter is where the news happens. Places like Facebook is where the conspiracy theories happen, and on Instagram it's just selfies. If you want to get to the information in the news, no, I'm dead serious there, but I know I said that in a half-joking way, but I'm dead serious. Twitter is where you get the news. Like, that's the news making going on. If you really want to kind of find out, even in real time, what many of those city council members are saying, check them out on Twitter. Seriously, check them out on Twitter. Don't check them out on Instagram. Maybe on Facebook, when you sort of muscle your way or weed your way, crawl your way through the mud of misinformation or infodemic, you can get to some actual nuggets of truth or actual information. But Twitter.com is a great source. It's a great news feed. That's why folks like myself rely on it and use it quite a bit. I'm not totally in love with, Twitter and I have a love-hate relationship, but I'm being dead serious here. Twitter is a spot that you want to go to, and it doesn't have all of the drawbacks that that Facebook has. It's not as invasive. Highly recommend going there, but you just get straight. You can actually turn your Twitter. We had Stephanie Humphrey on, our digital lifestyle expert, yesterday, and she said the same thing. She uses Twitter. That's her primary news feed. And so highly recommend that you go to at PHL Council on Twitter.com. It's very easy. And I don't even think you could just go there and check it out. You wouldn't even need to sign in. If you don't have a Twitter handle and you don't want to do one, that's fine. You should just be able to go there and just look at the basic feed and the basic information at Ellison Report and also at PHL Council. 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. Also, we go back and forth between Philly and DC going into another day. We're anticipating another day of riveting, damning testimony and arguments from impeachment managers. There was just some riveting. I was watching and listening to some riveting legal arguments or just basic arguments, very convincing. That definitely the type of arguments that would even get under the skin of or would make Republican senators on Capitol Hill feel definitely away and feel really crappy about themselves. From a lot of people were talking about her too. Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett, whom we've had on this program, the Congresswoman for the U.S. Virgin Islands, who happens to be a lawyer. She's Georgetown University Law School trained. Also, formerly, I think, worked in the Brooklyn DA's office. Is now Congresswoman for the U.S. Virgin Islands. Hails from St. Croix, which is my wife's island. And so a lot of Virgin Islanders were real proud to watch her. And she was delivering some really just stirring, very dramatic, and at times it appeared tear-filled arguments regarding the case against former President Donald Trump for inciting an attack on the U.S. Capitol. So, and also reports of Republican senators, a couple of Republican senators breaking down in tears watching the videos of insurgents attacking the Capitol, and also watching one particular police officer getting crushed by insurgents, by a wave of insurgents coming in, particularly they were seeing tears from Senator Tom Langford out of Oklahoma, who seemed very moved and affected by what he was saying. So, not sure that that's going to, move the needle in the direction of conviction for Donald Trump, even though definitely Republican senators in that chamber are going through an enormous guilt trip, as they should. But at the end of the day, they're more for their party, way more for their party. They're all about protecting their party than protecting the country. So I don't expect a conviction there, but definitely a necessary exercise happening in Washington, D.C. Also, you should go to today's, if you do get a chance, go to Philly.com, today's Philadelphia Inquirer, where you probably picked up if you had the opportunity, picked up a print edition. They've got pretty much a half a front page talking about the plight of Black Philadelphians getting vaccine. And I had a feeling last year, towards the end of last year, we were going to end up here. We were going to end up with, issues over vaccine distribution or quality of vaccine administration once the vaccine became widely available. Hopefully these problems will get better, as we do have an administration now that's running the federal government that definitely cares about ending the pandemic. Wants the pandemic to end, is doing everything that it can, and has hit the ground running as it's just started to end this pandemic. Sources at the White House are saying that if we keep up at the current pace, if things ramp up as quickly as possible and everyone gets vaccinated, or at least 80 to 85% of the population gets vaccinated at this current pace, we should reach that sweet spot of herd immunity by Thanksgiving. Somewhere between Thanksgiving to Christmas Eve. So that would be a nice Christmas present for many folks out there if we were to officially reach herd immunity. That's what we have to do. You have to get 80 to 85% of the U.S. population inoculated. This is how this works, everyone. Okay, first of all, the pandemic doesn't end until we reach herd immunity. This is just basic math. This is like as elementary and schoolhouse rock as you can get it. We don't end the pandemic until we reach what they've called herd immunity. And that means 80 to 85% of the population has to get vaccinated. So, I keep making this statement. Either there are folks out there who want the pandemic to end, or you like the pandemic. You like this. You like the pain and suffering and death. You love being, maybe, I don't know, you're super introverted and, you like being locked up in the house. Misery loves company. I don't know, you're a miserable person and you like everyone else around you being miserable in the middle of a pandemic. So, I mean, I suspect that the vast majority of people are not like that. So either you want the pandemic to end or you don't. In order for the pandemic to end, this is the way it goes. The nearly all of the population has got to get inoculated. It's just basic math, y'all. Like, this is basic math. It's just basic public health math. There's no other way around it. There's no other kind of way. I mean, the other things you need to do, definitely we talked about that yesterday. Uh, Announcement from the CDC study research saying it's time to double mask up. I'm double masking, so if you can get those N95 masks, if you happen to order from Amazon, great place to go to get some N95 masks. You can get like a box of 60 or 120, and they have kind of scaled up a lot more that sector to make sure that those masks are available and we don't get into a situation like what we had last year, that the early part of the pandemic where people couldn't get a hold of masks. So, like what I'm doing is I'm wearing like that N95 mask, and then I'm putting like what was a cloth mask with a filter around that, and we have 93% effectiveness with that double mask situation. That's real good. That's real good compared to like a 45 to 65% range effectiveness when you just do kind of the basic one mask thing. So if you're, I would hope that the community is now in the process of mobilizing and ensuring that everyone is double masking up. So it's not just masking up, it's double masking up. And this is a community effort. I mean, I hope that, I definitely expect or anticipate individuals and households are doing the same thing. They're preparing to double mask up. But I'm also hoping that this is a community effort because, not everyone is having access to masks or good quality masks, or, are able to get, boxes of, like N95 masks that you can, the temporary masks that you can use maybe, 4 or 5 times and then you discard and then you use again. I know not everyone's in that situation or has an Amazon Prime account. So it's up to community groups, civic organizations, neighbors, block captains, churches. Get to it, y'all. Snap. Like, this is what y'all say y'all do. You're supposed to do for the community. So, get on that. So that's one. But, it's not, you can't, I know there are people out there that are getting vaccinated and, they feel like, okay, I got vaccinated and so, I'm good. No, you're not good. You're not good until everyone else around you or as many people around you are also vaccinated. People have got to understand this. So this is why, like, in order to get the key way, the key method or strategy of getting out of or ending this pandemic is that we have to be a community. We have to be a black community. We have to be a Philadelphia community. We have to be a black, white, brown, Asian community all together. Everyone has to be supportive of one another getting inoculated. It's like it can't be, there's all this gamesmanship going on. And it's dangerous, where, the city is playing games, like just how the Philadelphia Inquirer reports today, there's all sorts of pharmacies all over the Philly area, Philly proper, Philly area, that are asking the city, or Philly pharmacies, inside Philly pharmacies, asking the city or telling the city, hey, listen, we could become vaccine distribution points or centers for people who need to get the vaccine. It's not even who want to get the vaccine. People need to get the vaccine. We all need to get the vaccine. But the city is like only giving like 2 pharmacies the go ahead. Like, I don't understand that. Like, I don't understand the public health departments. Once again, it's like this mayor who just is not, he's just not, he's not empathetic. Like he's not like he's not. There's no urgency with him. Like, I know I gotta get these people. Hey, Dr. Farley, what are you doing? Like, get permits to these. The pharmacy said that they can do it. What are you waiting for? Or bureaucrats or people sitting up in the public health department or whatever division it is within the city that's supposed to issue these permits. Like, snap, we all in the pandemic. Like, what y'all waiting for? Like, what are you? So this is not normal bureaucratic business as usual. Y'all know what everyone's going through, so we need to get people vaccinated as quickly as possible. So, it's you have this gamesmanship going on, or now, we're a situation where vast majority of people getting vaccinated are white people, but they're not the ones disproportionately impacted in this city or anywhere else in that nation for that matter. And we all have to come together on this, and or we gotta act as kind of a unified one in order to get out of it, in order for it to end. And that's just not the case right now. So you got white people playing games. You got politicians and bureaucrats. They're playing games. You got, certain institutions playing games over others. You got black people playing games. Black people one week they're saying, I don't know about this vaccine. And then the other week there's like, hey y'all, I got the vaccine. They phasing you the whole time, and then they jump in front of the line and get the vaccine. It's like, stop playing games, y'all, and get vaccinated and let's end the pandemic. All right? Like, either you want the pandemic to end or you don't. So it's like I'm making this plea to Philadelphia and other places, and especially to public officials. Stop playing games. Stop doing it, and get people vaccinated. Get us to herd immunity, okay? And do whatever you have to do to get us there fast, especially when you have that kind of support that you need now. You can't blame Washington anymore. You can't blame Washington anymore because you got the leadership in Washington installed who is there to now support your efforts. So I don't want to hear about, well, Washington is, no. Now it's on you. Like, get this done. All right. Philadelphia City Council is on. We have Philadelphia City Council President Darrell Clark. You should be hearing him next.
City Council is currently meeting remotely. We are using Microsoft Teams to make this remote meeting possible. Instructions for how the public may view the meeting and offer public comment are included in the stated meeting notice that was published in the Daily News, Inquirer, and Legal Intelligencer prior to the meeting, and could also be found on phl.com. I now note that the hour has come. I will ask the clerk to please call the roll to take attendance. Members that are in attendance, please indicate that you are present or anything that you may choose. Mr. Decker, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Brooks.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Councilman Dom.
Morning, Council President and colleagues and the listening public.
Good morning, Councilman.
Councilwoman Gautier.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning to the public present.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues, and good morning, Philadelphia.
Good morning.
Councilman Green.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues and council. Good morning to the city of Philadelphia.
Good morning, Councilman. Councilwoman Bass is present. I think she was muted, so she is.
Good morning. My apologies. I am present. Good morning, Mr. President and colleagues and the citizens of Philadelphia. Good morning.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Gim.
Good morning, Council President, and good morning, colleagues.
Good morning.
Councilman Heenan.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues.
Good morning.
Councilman Johnson.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Justice for Darius Winters, 15-year-old young man, innocently murdered in Grace Ferry, South Philadelphia. Justice for Darius Winters.
Good morning, Councilman.
Councilman Jones.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Philadelphia.
Good morning, Councilman.
Councilman O.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues.
Good morning, Councilman.
Councilman O'Neill.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Councilman.
Councilwoman Parker. Councilwoman Quinones Sanchez.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues.
Good morning, Councilwoman.
Councilman Squilla.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Present.
Good morning, Councilman.
Councilman Thomas.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Present.
Good morning.
Council President Clark.
Present. We have established our quorum. We will now come to order. So despite the great need, there will be no invocation today. We will, however, observe a very brief moment of silent prayer for our city, its leaders, and the citizens during the current public health crisis. Let's please observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you very much. Our next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting of Thursday, February 4th, 2021, and the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, February 4th, 2021 be approved.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and probably seconded that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, February 4th, 2021 stand approved. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that journal is approved. And our next order of business is request for leave of absence, and the chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the members of council, there are no requests for leaves of absence today.
Chair thanks the gentleman. And our next order of business is communications. And Mr. Decker, will you please read the messages from the mayor and any other communications that you may have in your possession?
From the mayor to the president and members of the council of the city of Philadelphia, I am submitting herewith, for the consideration of your honorable body, an ordinance authorizing transfers and appropriations for fiscal year 2021 from the Grants Revenue Fund, the Director of Finance, provision for other grants, to the General Fund, the Managing Director, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. And our next order of business is the introduction of bills and resolutions. And by way of a reminder, we are asking that all resolutions, including privilege resolutions, be placed on a final passage calendar for the next session of council unless they are being referred to committee. And in our current remote environment, this procedure will provide an appropriate opportunity for public comments. So I want to thank you very much in advance for your anticipated cooperation. Mr. Decker, can you please read the titles of the legislation that is being offered today by the members?
Councilwoman Parker offers two resolutions entitled a resolution honoring Dr. Ella Stanford and the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium for their contribution to health and equity during the COVID-19 pandemic.
And next week's calendar.
And a resolution commending Dr. Brenda A. Allen for being named one of the 10 most dominant historically Black college leaders for 2021 and congratulating Lincoln University for earning the historic gift of $20 million from philanthropist Mackenzie Scott.
Next week's calendar.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson offers one resolution entitled a resolution recognizing February 2021 as Environmental Justice Month in the city of Philadelphia.
Next week's calendar.
Councilwoman Gim offers one resolution entitled a resolution authorizing the Committee on Children and Youth to hold hearings concerning recommendations to establish an independent youth services ombudsperson office to receive, investigate, and report on concerns from youth and families about safety or services for young people in congregate care, secure or other forms of detention, or any institutional facility.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gim.
Thank you very much, Council President. First of all, I'd like to thank my co-sponsors, especially the members of the Children and Youth Committee, Council members Thomas, Brooks, Gautier, Johnson, as well as Council members Heenan, Gilmore, Richardson, Dom, Squilla, and Bass. This hearing has been a journey. Overall, when we first came into City Council, or when I first came into City Council in 2015, I want to thank the Council President for establishing a committee on children and youth that would take a look specifically at issues that impacted them. And one of the areas that we took on as a committee very seriously was the issue of thousands of Philadelphia children who are mandated to live in state-operated or private residential placements, either by the courts or through the Department of Human Services. These facilities annually cost the city and the school district over $175 million in public funding every year. That number was significantly higher when we first started. The city of Philadelphia has made significant strides in strengthening its oversight and reducing the use of congregate and institutional facilities for children over the past 5 years in particular. Residential placement rates have dropped by 71% since 2015, and there's been a longstanding commitment to see further reductions and to improve the quality and safety of residential placements across all these systems. That being said, though, the Youth Residential Placement Task Force was established in 2018 by this council body in partnership with Mayor Kenny's administration to address many of the systemic abuses within these programs, to prioritize youth safety and well-being, and to develop a plan to ensure that youth and their families had a place where their health and well-being would be centered, and that we would continue to reduce the number of them. And since the task force final report was released in 2019, we've made really significant strides. There have been short-term recommendations such as guides that are now available to youth and families that include information about their rights. We're publishing, the city is publishing the first summary assessment of congregant care facilities. There's more proactive training that's been provided to our providers on evidence-based strategies. Governor Wolf has signed an executive order to establish a council on reform, so the work has gone statewide. There's now a child advocate position at the state level, and there's a Pennsylvania Juvenile Justice Task Force, which I serve on, as well as several members of from the city of Philadelphia, Senator Tony Williams, Kevin Bethel at the school district, and Cynthia Figueroa at Office of Children, Youth, and Families. But this will also see some significant changes. It feels like now is a good time to come back to council to establish what's been done and what still yet needs to be done. In the final task force report that was released, there was a recommendation to create a youth services ombudsperson as a centralized, accessible, and independent means to investigate concerns from youth and families about safety and services while they are in these facilities. This recommendation was driven from the voices of young people themselves, who said that they did not feel safe to report mistreatment while in placement. And there was a recognition that there isn't really a single point of contact with the resources, even at the state level, to address multiple concerns about services for youth and residential placement across multiple systems, across regulators. We have young people who are paid pennies on the dollar that are forced to work to repay mandatory fines and fees or restitution. They're kept in placement facilities longer. These are things that are of grave concern. And of course, many of us on this council body have been deeply active and vocal on the abuses that have been suffered, whether it was David Hess at Wordsworth in 2016, which has driven my work personally, as well as the transformation I think we've seen citywide, whether it was what happened at Glen Mills, or more recently as Devereaux. Our hope is that this hearing will allow us to show this council body and the public great strides that the city has achieved and the significant needs that we have going forward. 42 other states have youth ombudspersons offices. The city, the municipality of DC also has a youth ombudsperson office. It feels like the time is now, and I look forward to that hearing. Thank you very much, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. That will be on today's calendar.
Councilman Heenan offers one bill and one resolution entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 93700 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Bouncers by revising definitions of covered establishments and personnel.
For the committee.
And a resolution honoring and recognizing Russell Collins for his dedication to Philadelphia through his extensive work in security and risk management and for his efforts to improve the safety and security of Philadelphia's bars, restaurants, and nightclubs through advocacy and training.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman Johnson offers two bills entitled an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Manton Street and South 18th Street and South 16th Street and South 21st Street, South 20th Street and Ellsworth Street, Carlisle Street and Wharton Street and Tasker Street, Titan Street and South 16th Street and South 18th Street.
For the committee.
And an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of South 15th Street and Reed Street, South 19th Street and Reed Street, South 18th Street and Federal Street, South 18th Street and Morris Street, Wharton Street and South 22nd to South 17th Street, Ellsworth Street and South 22nd Street, Morris Street and South 17th Street.
Refer to committee.
Councilwoman Quinones Sanchez offers on behalf of Council President Clark two bills entitled an ordinance authorizing transfers and appropriations for fiscal year 2021 from the general fund of the council to the general fund, certain or all city offices, departments, boards, and commissions, and thereby implementing council's new normal jobs initiative.
Refer to committee.
And an ordinance authorizing transfers and appropriations for fiscal year 2021 from the Grants Revenue Fund, the Director of Finance, provision for other grants, to the General Fund, the Managing Director.
Refer to committee.
Councilman Green offers two resolutions entitled a resolution authorizing the Committee on People with Disabilities and Special Needs to hold hearings regarding services for people with disabilities and general compliance with and enforcement of the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Today's calendar.
And a resolution celebrating the life and honoring the memory of John Chaney as we recognize his groundbreaking accomplishments in the sport of basketball and his many contributions to our beloved city.
Next week's calendar.
Councilwoman Brooks offers one bill entitled an ordinance amending section 94116 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Public Health Emergency Leave to establish leave time for public health emergencies and modify existing provisions concerning the paid sick leave and make technical changes.
For the committee.
Councilwoman Gauthier offers one resolution entitled a resolution calling on President Joseph R. Biden Jr. and the 117th United States Congress to immediately implement President Biden's plan to end the gun violence epidemic in cities and begin to appropriate the $900 million in funds President Biden pledged to cities with the highest rates of homicides.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman Thomas offers one resolution entitled a resolution honoring and congratulating the Academy of Palumbo's robotics team, the Robo Griffins, on their success at the 2021 Coder Z League Pro competition, where the robotics team was declared the world champions.
Next week's calendar.
Councilwoman Bass offers one resolution entitled a resolution recognizing February 2021 as Love Your Library Month to honor libraries and the resources they provide communities, to show appreciation for library users, and to encourage Philadelphians to engage with their local libraries.
That'll be on next week's calendar.
Councilman O offers one resolution entitled a resolution supporting the city's plan to prioritize vaccinations for returning teachers, administrators, and school employees at large, and urging the city to follow through on the plan in a responsible and efficient manner in order to regain public trust.
Next week's calendar.
There are no other bills or resolutions being offered by the members, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. That concludes our introduction of bills and resolutions. And our next order of business is reports from the committee. And Councilwoman Parker, I believe you're on now.
Yes, I am. Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee of the Whole reports out 5 resolutions with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Decker, please read that report.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, the Committee of the Whole, to which is referred resolution number 200715 entitled a resolution appointing James Arrows Jr. to the position of Chief Assessment Officer of the Office of Property Assessment, and resolution number 200716 entitled a resolution confirming the appointment of Diana P. Cortez Esquire as the City Solicitor, and resolution number 210031 entitled a resolution confirming the appointment of Cecilia Thompson to the Board of Education of the School District of Philadelphia, and resolution number 210032 entitled a resolution confirming the appointment of Lisa Selly to the Board of Education of the School District of Philadelphia, and resolution number 210033 entitled a resolution confirming the appointment of Reginald L. Streeter Esquire to the Board of Education of the School District of Philadelphia. Respectfully reports it as considered the same and returns the attached resolutions to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Those resolutions number 200-715, 200-716, 210-031, 210-032, and 210-033 will be placed on our final passes calendar at our next session of council. Chair now recognizes Councilman Green for a report from the Committee on Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Finance reports out 2 bills with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Councilman Green. Mr. Decker, will you please read the report?
The Committee on Finance, to which is referred Bill number 210004, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing and Approving the Execution and Delivery of a Service Agreement between the City of Philadelphia and the Philadelphia Authority for Industrial Development, relating to the refunding of certain bonds previously issued to finance and/or refinance alternative funding mechanisms for a portion of the unfunded actuarial accrued liability of the City of Philadelphia Retirement System, implemented pursuant to the Municipal Pension Plan Funding Standard and Recovery Act, approving the issuance by the Philadelphia Authority for Industrial Development of bonds, notes, or other evidences of indebtedness in one or more series to refund such bonds, authorizing and approving the city's obligation to pay in full when due the service fee and other amounts payable under the service agreement. And Bill number 210006, entitled An Ordinance Amending Chapter 19200 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled City Funds, Deposits, Investments, Disbursements, by amending Section 19201, entitled City Depositories, by authorizing the City Treasurer to deposit funds in Santander Bank, National Association. Respectfully reports it has considered the same and returns the attached bills to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. The chair again recognizes Councilman Green. Please.
Councilmember Green, can you hear us, or you froze? You're on mute.
Councilman Green, just move for the suspension of the rules.
Yes, thank you.
The
Thank you,
Northwest.
Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit reading of this day bill numbers 210004 and 21006.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills number 210004 and 210006. All in favor will say aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and these bills will be placed on our first reading calendar for today. Chair now recognizes Councilman Heenan for a report from the Committee of Public Property and Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee of Public Property and Public Works reports out 1 bill with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Decker, please read the report.
The Committee on Public Property and Public Works, to which is referred Bill number 200656, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property on behalf of the city to acquire fee simple title or a lesser interest in real estate by purchase, dedication, donation, condemnation, in agreement in lieu of condemnation or otherwise, in parcels of land along the Schuylkill River and the Wissahickon Creek for public recreational purposes. Respectfully reports it has considered the same and returns the attached bill to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Chair again recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit the first reading of this day of bill number 200656.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and probably second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills number 200656. All in favor will indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and this bill will be placed on our first reading calendar today. That concludes our reports on committee. And our next order of business is the consideration of the calendar. I note that the bills just reported from committee with the suspension of the rules have been deemed to have had a first reading. These bills will be placed on our second reading and final passage calendar for our next session of council. As there are no additional bills on the first reading calendar, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker for the purpose of calling up resolutions and bills on the second reading and final passage calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following resolutions and bills are being called up from the second reading and final passage calendars today. They are numbers 200580, 210084, 210086, 210087, 210088, 210092, 210093, 210094, 210096, 210097, 210104, 210105, and 210106. Mr. President, all other resolutions and bills are being held.
Thank you, Councilwoman. We will now, before we proceed with the consideration of these bills and resolutions, we will have our public comment session. We're going to take a couple of minutes to give our technology professionals some time to connect the speakers, and then we'll come back for our public comment session.
Okay. You've been listening to the Philadelphia City Council. Of course, as we do every Thursday, this is the exercise. We give you gavel-to-gavel coverage of the Philadelphia City Council. We are waiting on them to head into public comment period. Not sure what we're going to hear or see in public comment period. Hoping that it's lively. There's many people involved. I'm not sure. I don't have the inside track on that as to how many people are signing up for public comment period. The best that I can do is just let you all know that you should be signing up for public comment the Wednesday prior to a full session of City Council. Go to phlcouncil.com for more information on that. So if you have not already signed up, you're curious, or you have a big concern about legislation that has been proposed or is being considered or deliberated by the City Council, then wait till next week. And, first call your member of council and ask them what they are working on. I would highly recommend and urge people to do that. That's a good exercise too, to get into the habit of calling. If you are a concerned Philadelphia resident, you're wondering what they are working on, what pieces of legislation they're introducing, they're trying to push through, or they're trying to get support for, or maybe there's you just like to learn what they're working on and see whether or not you agree with it. Call your city council member, call your city council member, call your city council member at large, call the city council president's office and just say, hey, what are the bills that you're working on? And, how can I get more information on them? And then prepare by the following Wednesday by 3 p.m. to submit your name for public comment. So we're just giving them a few moments here to get situated for public comment. 215-634-8065, toll free. It is 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. Quite a few bill numbers, as always, that were listed by the City Council Majority Leader Sherelle Parker. Just need her to slow down a bit, though, because she's, sometimes she'll read them so fast and it's hard to keep up with those numbers, because we need to notate those numbers. So just putting that out there, projecting that in the air, hoping someone overhears, and just tell, much respect, really seriously, much respect to Majority Leader Parker. Just have her slow down when she's reading the bill numbers. Not trying to be funny there or anything like that, but just a little bit of housekeeping, because it could be helpful for me. It could be helpful for those listening in. Slow down as you read the numbers, so people can have enough time to get a pen and paper and list those bill numbers, and then go through the process of going online to phila.legistar.com or phlcouncil.com, and searching for those bills and being able to look at those bills themselves. Okay, City Council is back on. Let's go to it.
Support or against the legislation and add you to our list. We will telephone each person on the list during the council session and invite them to our remote meeting. Under ideal circumstances, you will have 3 minutes to speak. And today, it appears to be an ideal circumstances, so you will have 3 minutes to speak. In order to be fair, I just want to say for the record, all those listening to speak, I intend to hold it faithfully to the established time limit. Once invited to the meeting and asked to begin your testimony, a timer will be started. We will monitor your remaining time throughout your testimony, and when there are 30 seconds remaining to your time, you will be reminded of this. Once your allotted time has passed, you will be asked to conclude your remarks, and shortly thereafter, you will be muted and disconnected from the remote meeting. Also reserve the right to limit the number of speakers where repetitious comments are being made on the same matter, and to limit the scope of testimony to only certain items on the agenda during the emergency, which could affect callbacks for the public comment at the meeting. Please be aware, just for the record, that this is a public meeting and it's being recorded. Because the meeting is public, participants and viewers have no reasonable expectation of privacy. So by continuing to be in the meeting, you are consenting to being recorded. I would ask Mr. Decker to please read the name of our first speaker.
Sandra Calhoun.
Good morning.
And good morning to you, President, City Council, and all the members of City Council. I am speaking today in reference to Resolution Bill 210010, and I want to respect and appreciate this bill being offered by Gilmore Richardson, adopting an environmental social governance criteria and disclose climate risk information from all relevant parties. So I'm going to identify myself as one of the relevant parties and disclosing the climate risk that's overwhelming the West Philadelphia community and the Southwest Philadelphia community as it relates to tires. Our communities in West Philadelphia and Southwest is oversaturated with tires, which is no friend to the environment. These tires are found, can be seen in lots, streets, on the street curbs, all over the city of West and Southwest. Not to say negating the other cities, but I'm dealing with where I live and what I know. And the tires is a very serious and environmental problem, and it appears to be unregulated, because if it was regulated and the regulations are being followed, I would not see this oversaturation of the tires all throughout West and West Philadelphia, which these tires just present a risk to the environment. The sitting tires in these lots, the waste of those tires send off methane gas into the air, carcinogens into the air that we breathe. And I'm trying to understand, although I appreciate this bill, but writing this bill, what are you going to do disclosing the climate risk? I want you to write a bill on how we are going to actively remove the environmental climate risk from our community. The rubber from the tires is in these here dump sites, mitigates the damages of environmental effects of rotting tires, rubber from the tires, into our water, our soil, and our plants. So I am a party disclosing one of the just one of the climate risks in our community, oversaturated with these tires, and the tire business right next door to houses that people live in. If that's not a climate and a risk, nothing else is. I want there to be, which I'm searching for, a policy or law that speaks on a tire business being right next door, set up to a residential house and community. I am real tired of 44th and Belmont and Girard, of the tire business there, that I am now walking out in the street because of all the tires that's on the pavement. They have cords running from the inside of the business out to the curb, and I'm stepping over. That's a safety hazard. It's a safety, health, and environmental risk. Another business, what's it called, New to You or whatever, his business is set up right next to a residential home. We have to walk out in the street on Belmont Avenue because all of the trucks are on the pavement, extended all the way back to compass storage. This is not a good look. And this environment in West Philadelphia and West Philadelphia is totally environmentally polluted. It's like an unflushed toilet overflowing with trash, litter, and toxins, and that's an environmental risk. Help me with this.
Thank you.
I have all kinds of reports to 311. Help me to clean up the environment.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Calhoun, can you just please say your name for the record?
My name is Sandra, Sandra, Calhoun, Calhoun.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony, ma'am. Appreciate you.
Is it okay to say something?
I'm sorry. Who's that? Councilwoman Gauthier? Yeah.
I just wanted to recognize Ms. Sandra in all of her work and just say that I'm committed to working together on this issue. And thank you for your advocacy and all of your hard work on behalf of the community.
Thank you. I'm going to follow through up with this.
I know.
Councilwoman Gauthier.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman. Thank you, Ms. Calhoun. Mr. Decker?
There are no other speakers in the public comment list, Mr. President.
Pulled out. Okay. Well, thank you. That concludes our public comment. We will now consider the bills and resolutions on the second reading and final passage calendar. Mr. Decker, if you can you please read the title of resolutions number 200580?
A resolution calling on the Pennsylvania General Assembly to adopt House Bill 526, ending the use of taxpayer funds to pay for cyber charter education when local school districts offer their own full-time cyber school programs.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gimm for a motion.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President. I move that, excuse me, just double checking. I move that this
resolution 200580, Council Lady.
Yes, we are moving it to the. I move that the 580 be moved to the suspension calendar.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second that the resolution number 200580 be placed on the suspension calendar. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Motion carries, and it will be placed on the suspension calendar. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210084.
A resolution commending the Philadelphia 76ers in creating the Buy Black program to support Black-owned small businesses.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210086.
A resolution honoring and congratulating Philadelphia natives Sincere Harris and Erin Wilson for their new positions as White House Liaison for the Environmental Protection Agency and Special Assistant to the President and Deputy Director for the White House Office of Political Affairs and Strategy.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
All right. It has been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210087.
A resolution recognizing February 2021 as Career and Technical Education CTE Awareness Month in Philadelphia.
Thank you. Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210088.
A resolution commemorating the life and legacy of community activist Russell Medin, whose tireless advocacy for vibrant public space and public bike share led to millions of Philadelphians enjoying and celebrating the city of Philadelphia's public trails and provided a powerful model of civic engagement for the nation and the world.
Absolutely. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gimm for a motion on the resolution.
Thank you very much, Council President. As you and I both know, Russell Medin and many others, Russell Medin was a wonderful citizen. He was a friend. He was a neighbor of the highest degree. It was an honor to be able to know him. I met him first when he was taking care of his beloved Cox Park in the Logan Square neighborhood. He knew the name of every child, of every parent. He welcomed them. He celebrated Philadelphia. He contributed mightily, took on CSX when they threatened to close off access to Schuylkill River Park, along with many others within the communities and neighborhoods. He led a campaign to ensure that there would be pedestrian access to Schuylkill Banks. And today, Schuylkill Banks is a testament to what neighborhoods and communities can do to revitalize our waterways, to create life and vitality and a place for community. He's gone and done so much more, whether it's been Philadelphia Bike Share and his commitment to that, to just celebrating what it means to be a neighbor of the highest degree. So present this with you, Council President, to my colleagues and move for the adoption of this resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Awesome, awesome. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210092.
A resolution honoring Stephanie Resnick on her receipt of the prestigious Judge Learned Hand Award from the American Jewish Committee in Philadelphia for her distinguished legal career.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Don.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210093.
A resolution recognizing the work of William R. Sasso upon his transition from his role as chairman of Stradley, Ronan Stevens and Young to chairman emeritus.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Don.
Thank you, Mr. President, and move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210094.
A resolution appointing Andrew Goodman to the Board of Directors of the Philadelphia Land Bank.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gauthier.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210096.
A resolution honoring and congratulating St. Joseph's Preparatory School football team on their successful 2020 season and overall 6-0 record in the Philadelphia Catholic League.
Chair recognizes Councilman Thomas.
Thank you, Council President. Congratulations to the young people, staff, and parents there, and I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It's moved and probably second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210097.
A resolution thanking Congress for passing the Save Our Stages Act and urging the Small Business Administration to equitably promote and distribute funds while continuing to support and invest in the arts and culture sector.
Chair again recognizes Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Been moved and properly second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210104.
A resolution recognizing February 7, 2021 as National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day and honoring the work of Babashi in providing access to culturally sensitive, high-quality health care, HIV/AIDS services, health education, and social services.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to move for the adoption of the resolution and thank Babashi and all the organizations that have done so much of the work around AIDS and HIV, particularly in the African American and Latinos communities. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210-105.
A resolution recognizing the week of February 1, 2021 to February 7, 2021 as National Gun Violence Survivors Week to honor and remember all victims and survivors of gun violence and uplift the resilient voices of survivors in Philadelphia.
Chair again recognizes Councilmember Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. Obviously, after this week, we all know that there's, it's not new to us that there is a lot of work that needs to be done on this very issue. I move for the adoption of the resolution as we work towards solutions. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and probably second that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210-106.
A resolution expressing support for longtime Philadelphia news anchor Yuki Washington and standing with all impacted employees at CBS 3 amid reports of gross misconduct at the network.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilman O for a motion.
Thank you. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, do you have any additional resolutions?
A resolution authorizing the Committee on Children and Youth to hold hearings concerning recommendations to establish an independent youth services ombudsperson office to receive, investigate, and report on concerns from youth and families about safety or services for young people in congregate care, secure or other forms of detention, or any institutional facility, introduced by Councilwoman Gim.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gim.
Thank you very much, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and probably seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Committee on People with Disabilities and Special Needs to hold hearings regarding services for people with disabilities and general compliance with and enforcement of the Americans with Disabilities Act, introduced by Councilman Green.
Chair recognizes Councilmember Green.
Thank you, Council President. I want to applaud the administration with coming up with the ADA transition plan. This is an issue that we have needed to do for some time, and administration has shown leadership on getting us to this point, but we have so much more work to do. So this hearing is an opportunity to provide additional information regarding the transition plan, to address some of the ableist issues that we have in our society, and really make the city of Philadelphia a city that's going to be open to all people regardless of your physical or learning difference. I look forward to working with the administration on this transition plan and educating more people in the city of Philadelphia about what we need to do to make the city the most welcoming city that it can be. With that, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and probably seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
There are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. Prior to recognizing members regarding speeches, I will note for the record at this time that we will use the chat feature available in Microsoft Teams to allow members to signify that they wish to be recognized. In order to comply with the Sunshine Act, the chat feature must only be used for that particular purpose. With that said, are there speeches on behalf of the minority? And the chair recognizes Councilmember Brooks.
Thank you so much, Council President. I want to take a moment to thank the 11 co-sponsors of my 2021 Public Health Emergency Leave Bill that I introduced today. This bill reinstates many of the protections from last year's Public Health Emergency Leave Bill and makes some improvements to the law. As we approach the 1-year anniversary of the pandemic, the cumulative effect of inconsistent work, food scarcity, isolation, trauma, loss. It is being felt by our communities.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
God bless you.
God bless you.
God bless you.
As families grapple with this severe financial strain, we must continue to provide them with the protections they need to keep themselves, their families, and our city safe. Though there are hopeful signs as COVID-19 cases decline and as cities and states work swiftly to vaccinate the public, we must remain vigilant. With the new strain of COVID-19 circulating and with the opening of indoor dining, we cannot let our guards down. Adequate paid sick leave remains one of the best tools in stopping the spread and protecting our most vulnerable community members who may not be able to afford to miss a day of work if they are exposed to COVID-19 or need to stay home to care for a sick family member. So I want to thank my colleagues for their strong support and clear dedication to this issue. And I want to thank all our healthcare professionals, nursing home aides, gig economy workers, food service workers, sanitation workers, grocery store employees, and all others who continue to keep our communities safe and our city running. Thank you so much, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
WURD Radio,
Thank you
96.1
for your
FM
support.
and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Council President. I wanted to just recognize the passing of former State Senator Stuart Greenleaf. We in this body presented him with a resolution recognizing his many years of work in criminal justice reform. He was doing that before it was popular, before it was cool. He was very much chastised and took a lot of heat for what he did. He changed the laws at the state level. If DNA evidence proves that you are not the person, you can thank Stuart Greenleaf. Seems like it makes sense, right? DNA evidence. But it has to be a state law. It has to be presented and adopted. I met him because of the Eric Riddick case. And we in this body have urged the state to do something about that, and not just in Eric Riddick's case, but in all cases of the Post-Conviction Relief Act, that in any circumstance where substantial evidence, in this case scientific evidence, proves that the crime was not committed in the way it was described, that a judge be able to hear the case so that a person not do life in prison while there is scientific evidence that they did not commit the crime. This is an ongoing battle, but when I went to meet Stuart Greenleaf, I was not sure what to expect. He was the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee. I did a quick review after I got the appointment, and to my amazement, found all the work he'd done, 20 bills he had done. And he said to me right away, he will help and work on this, and he did. Unfortunately for me, and I think for a lot of people, he had already announced that he was not running for re-election. And I wish he had run for re-election. He would have been re-elected and he could work on this. But after he retired, we did recognize him, and I just wanted to say that he was a person who initially started out as a very tough on crime person, and I personally don't have a problem with tough on crime. But I do have a problem with being unjust, unfair, and discriminatory, and he was a champion of changing that in the system. So I thank him. My condolences to his family and his loved ones. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. On behalf of the majority, Chair recognizes Councilman Dunn.
Thank you, Council President. I have a bit of a long speech today. 3 years ago, the Philadelphia Eagles showed the world how teamwork, leadership, imagination could overcome insurmountable odds and make history. A running back takes the snap, a tight end becomes a quarterback becomes a wide receiver, and the Eagles defeat Tom Brady, to win the Super Bowl. It's amazing. Teamwork, leadership, and imagination. I have chills in my body right now even just thinking about that. It was just amazing. So imagine this. Johnson & Johnson has announced they're going to have millions of vaccines. They've released their new vaccine. It's a single shot dose. And Philadelphia now has 50,000 vaccines coming in per week to distribute. Picture this, a football stadium parking lot, labor parking lots, black church parking lots, outdoor music venue parking lots, transforming into mass vaccination sites. Doctors, nurses, and health professionals mobilizing outside of their bricks and mortar settings to administer thousands of vaccines a day in parking lots around the city. The National Guard activates not to defend the Capitol against domestic terror, but to combat a deadly virus in coordination with community leaders. Our Health Department, 311 Center, and the Office of Innovation and Technology working together, all managing an online tool and telephone hotline that allows every Philadelphian to register for their vaccination and get an appointment or be placed on a waiting list in a CDC-designed priority order. SEPTA, running subway service to the Link and bus service to all the parking lots and churches and the Mann Music Center. Just imagine that. Operation Philly Special is the playbook that brings all of the city's assets to bear to fight a deadly virus. As all of you know, yesterday, I and a few of my colleagues on council called upon the mayor to get behind Operation Philly Special. Council members Bass, Gilmore Richardson, Green, and Squilla stood in solidarity with me on behalf of our residents. Councilman Johnson and O were also supportive. Before I address the mayor's public response to Operation Philly Special, let me first address his private response. Within hours of my releasing a press advisory, naming the members of City Council and labor leaders who would stand with me in support of mass vaccination sites, I began getting phone calls that the mayor and his team were making calls to shut our efforts down and quiet our message, that we need a plan to vaccinate thousands of people a day efficiently and effectively. I asked the mayor to join us yesterday. Congressman Brady asked the mayor to join. We want to work with the mayor and his office, but I heard nothing back. The mayor's public response to our plan was equally spiteful. He accused our supporters of trying to give Philly vaccines to residents of the suburbs. This is what the mayor said. Are you deliberately trying to ensure that white, privileged suburban residents of other counties and states are prioritized for vaccination over black and brown taxpayers of Philadelphia? I don't know whether I'm more offended or saddened by that statement. Does our mayor really think so little of us as to believe that we would let out-of-state and out-of-county residents come in and deplete our supply of life-saving vaccines for Philadelphians? I've asked Senator Sharif Street to lead the effort to provide a National Guard staffing at each one of our mass vaccination sites to ensure that only Philadelphia residents get Philadelphia vaccines. It's my understanding the governor is fast-tracking HB 326 to allow the National Guard to do just this. And that is how we will deal with the mayor's words, white privileged suburban residents. And as a point of clarification, I ask this: what current vaccination program in either a hospital, health system, or pharmacy does not ask for identification? Former Mayor John Street was right yesterday when he said these responses were nothing more than red herrings designed to deflect the public's attention away from this administration's lack of a willingness to pull our amazing city partners together to develop and then execute a mass vaccination distribution plan when the supplies appear. So let me now address what happened last week when Health Committee Chair Cindy Bass called a hearing to investigate the Philly Fighting COVID debacle. Last week, I listened to the testimony for 5 hours about the city's plan for vaccine distribution. I have read all 10 pages of the plan. To members of City Council, the plan was to outsource vaccine distribution to all of the pre-pandemic vaccine distribution channels without any real control of the vaccines once they left the administration's hands. And if you're going to outsource vaccine distribution through pre-pandemic channels and place all of your trust in these for-profit institutions to equitably distribute these public vaccines so that communities of color are not left behind, then you must first set up a unified information platform across all these distribution channels to register and schedule vaccination appointments, and you must create a unified information platform to track who gets these vaccines. You do it this way so the health department knows, the mayor knows, this body knows, and so the general public is confident we are doing this the right way. We do this so we're able to target who we need to target. We do this so we see problems, we can move fast enough to address them. And now is the time to be transparent, inclusive, honest, and determined. We know right now that over 54%, according to the website, of the men and women receiving vaccines are white. We can do better by controlling these things through large sites like Lincoln Financial Field with the right scheduling application in place. When you don't centrally control where these vaccines go, 22-year-olds can hijack 4 doses of vaccines for friends. And that is why PHMC can offer to distribute its Philadelphia doses to employees regardless of eligibility or residency. We're discovering these problems because conscientious citizens who saw these diversions stepped up and sounded the alarm. We can do better with more people at the table. Up until last week, we had no real plan to deal with teachers and reopen schools safely. We have a stunning failure here to plan in a collaborative manner. Finally, when you fail to build equity into your distribution plan on the front end, and you choose to outsource it to primarily white-owned channels without controls, you have lost the battle for equity on the front end and now forced to scramble to get it on the back end. And that is precisely what the city has done and is doing. That's why Dr. Alice Stanford, who's doing a phenomenal job, desperately calls a press conference yesterday, begging white citizens not to take vaccines distributed in black neighborhoods because the city didn't build an equity into its distribution plan on the front end. Mr. President, a tremendous respect for you. Time and again, your leadership has pulled us all together. To move the city forward, you've taught us all how to work with this mayor to achieve our goals. But at this moment, our mayor is fighting against us and not with us. We need him with us. We're on the verge of receiving massive quantities of vaccines, perhaps 50,000 doses per week or more. And we are told by the mayor that we do not need mass vaccination sites because the system they have set up, a system that can barely handle the doses we do have, can do the job. What the mayor calls his mass vaccination sites in the report are in reality the gym of a charter school, 2 small churches, the common room of an adult care center, and a building on the campus of one university building. What Operation Philly calls mass vaccination sites are the Link, the Mann Center, 4 massive parking lots, and the largest black churches throughout the city of Philadelphia. The city's current mass vaccination plan is the equivalent of vaccinating to a handful of like mom and pop shops. Operation Philly's plan is the equivalent of vaccinating through super centers with controls in place to ensure equitable and transparent distribution goals. Mr. President, today I call upon this council and the citizens of Philadelphia to speak with one voice and tell the mayor this. We can do so much more. We must do so much more. And if you don't recognize this, Mr. Mayor, then get out of the way and we will do it ourselves. I've spent the past week privately and publicly begging the administration, to do the right thing, to join with us in preparing to make mass vaccination sites a reality, and all I have gotten in response is accusations that I am motivated by something the mayor calls white privilege, Even after having my motives questioned, I continue to beg for his support and collaboration. So let me be as clear as I can be today. The time to act is right now. Mr. President, as you know, I sent a letter to Commissioner Farley asking for a mass vaccination plan incorporating these ideas by February 12th. That's tomorrow. I also intended to introduce a resolution today calling on the mayor to get behind Operation Philly Special and direct the health department to begin bringing these mass vaccination sites online. Today, at your request, I'm holding off on the resolution. Holding off for a week. But I have 4 requests from the mayor. First, direct the health commissioner to immediately begin working with Councilmember Bass and her committee and members of council and Dr. Stanford to put Operation Philly Special into action with the goal of putting vaccines in the arms of most Philadelphians in the fastest timetable possible with built-in systems to ensure the equitable distribution of our vaccines. 2, direct the Office of Information Technology to begin working with council and community stakeholders to build a web-based and phone-based platform that acts as a one-stop shop to register and schedule all Philadelphians to receive their vaccinations at the Philly Special mass vaccination sites and track all distribution from the city from vaccination into their arm. 3rd, make a commitment, a public commitment to the citizens of Philadelphia that every citizen that registers and schedules an appointment through our website will receive a vaccination. 4th, call on Governor Wolf to mobilize, if necessary, the National Guard to the Philly Special mass vaccination sites to ensure that Philadelphia vaccines only go into the arms of Philadelphians. Mr. Mayor, please work with us. Take these steps in the next 7 days to make these mass vaccination sites a reality. Philadelphian lives depend on it. We need to do this. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you so much. As always, I reference myself as being the uncle. I kind of joked about being potentially the crazy uncle, but I understand my role has grown into a person that tries to bring people together. We are all focused on getting vaccines in people's arms, and I'm just a firm believer as a glass half full kind of guy. We can work together and we can get this done. I mean, we have to get this done. I mean, the eyes are on us across the nation as a result of some missteps that happened earlier in this whole process. And we got to figure this out one way or another because we got there's too many people. I mean, I don't think there's a person on this call or just watching this broadcast that doesn't know somebody, obviously, that has had the vaccine, or somebody that has died, from the COVID-19 disease. I mean, this is a real deal. So, we'll take a few days to try to pull this together. And I just believe that like-minded people, we're all like-minded people on this particular issue. We'll get it together. And I know there are some things in the works on all sides, but, we got to stay focused. This is not about any of us on this screen. It's not about me, the mayor, any of the council people. This is about the citizens of the city of Philadelphia and making sure they're safe. So, Councilman, thank you. Thank you for your awesome engagement.
Council President, I have a point of order. Could I be recognized?
Yeah, I was just kind of way. I didn't want to interrupt.
No, thank you.
This is, speech is a little different than a council session. Councilman, you had a point of order.
Yeah, I do. And I'll be disruptive. Talk is cheap. And we have been talking and talking and talking about this, but we have powers that we have to use. And I have a bill, and the bill is that the health department cannot continue to simply act on its own without the oversight of council. They are restricted. The law department is saying they're not. That is not my reading of the code. I have spoken to the state, but they're saying they are not restricted by this council. They are. But to be clear, I've introduced a bill that they have 60 days of emergency power, and they have to come before this body to justify and explain in detail what they're doing to answer our questions, to do all of that, or they shall be shut down. And this is ridiculous. And it is beyond ridiculous that this body tolerates this nonsense. And I'm sorry, Councilman Dom, but you voted against a resolution that I introduced calling on the mayor to work more closely with council. Perhaps at the time we were trying to work with the mayor and encourage him. That time has passed. What is another resolution? What is another speech and calling on? This is atrocious. Dr. Fauci just announced that by April, it's going to be open vaccinations. Everybody's going to walk in, and the federal government is saying, these are our vaccines. So you, City of Philadelphia, you can't decide who gets them and not. It's open. But we are not ready. And if we don't get a grip and a handle on this and exercise some oversight over this health department, it's our fault. When people are not able to go in and get vaccinated, no more phasing, just open vaccinations. And of course, how ridiculous is this thing with the teachers, knowing that they're going back to work, and everyone in the schools?
Councilman.
That's what I got to say. Thank you, Council President.
You're going a little beyond the point of order. Thank you, sir. You kind of jumping the line in the speeches. Thanks both of you council members. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Wow. Thank you, Mr. President. This brings us to an interesting point, because I think that what we need to do here is, as Councilman Dom said, let's try to work with the administration. But I think, as Councilman O said, that if they don't, then we need to use the powers that we have as members of council, because I am just continually appalled and disturbed by information that is coming out about the way vaccines have been distributed. Just right after the hearing, we heard about PHMC and the debacle that, allowed them to be able to send out an email to their 3,000 employees offering the vaccine, regardless of whether you were at risk, regardless of whether you were, in touch with patients or in a other compromising situation that will put you in closer line to being possibly infected with COVID. These are the kind of things that we just can't happen, and they continue to happen over and over and over again. Like I said, right before that, we had just finished a hearing, a 6-hour hearing on Philly fighting COVID. And the lack of information, the lack of transparency was really just outrageous. And so while I always want to work with the administration, first and foremost, I think we've got to move on at some point. Hopefully they will hear our plea, hear our cry, and decide to work together. This is not the only solution. This is one of multiple solutions that was proposed to the administration, and there is no reason why we can't do this, why we can't work together. The vaccine plan that, if you want to call it a plan that has been offered by the administration, I just think it's very confusing. People still don't know where to go, what to do, how to sign up, how to get access. Some of the very basics of information are missing. Just last night, I was speaking to a friend of mine who lives in Montgomery County, who told me about how she signed up for a vaccine in Montgomery County, and all of the information, the level of detail that was provided in terms of what she would expect, when she would expect to hear it, how she would be contacted, all of those things. This is not rocket science. This is something that should be easily figured out. And, maybe that they figured if they put it in the hand of, a group of kids from recent graduates from Drexel University, maybe they figured, that was the best way to do it. Obviously, we have some serious doubts and concerns about their ideology around how to get this done. But what we have right now in Philadelphia is pretty much a national embarrassment, And so we have to move forward and figure out what it is that we're going to do, because as all of us know, people are dying. We all know people who have died. I know people close to me who have passed away from COVID. I'm outraged that, people still won't wear masks. I still go by people in some neighborhoods who still aren't wearing masks, still not doing what we're supposed to do. And even though the numbers are starting to look better, we can see that things are, we're just getting ready to see a light at the end of the tunnel. We're not there yet, so we still have work to do. So that's what I would like to say on the vaccine. I also really wanted to thank my colleagues, Mr. President, for their support of our resolutions on National Gun Violence Survivors Week and also National Black HIV and AIDS Awareness Day. And a gun survivor, just in case anyone doesn't know, but I'm sure we're all very familiar, but a survivor of gun violence is anyone whose life has been impacted by gun violence, whether it is something they have witnessed, were threatened, or wounded by a gunshot themselves, or were caring for someone who fell victim to a gunshot. Of these adult survivors, 68% are Black and Latino. And what's even more concerning is the fact that gun violence is the leading cause for death for Black children and teens in this country. Last year, our city lost nearly 500 Philadelphians to gun violence, and over 2,000 Philadelphians were injured due to gun violence. As of the end of January of this year, we already have recorded 38 fatal and 144 non-fatal victims. That was just at the end of January, and we know obviously that number is significantly higher now. We as a city still have much work to do as we continue to battle this public health crisis. Last week was National Gun Violence Survivors Week, but every day we should be highlighting and supporting gun violence survivors who, despite their painful experience, continuously advocate for change through support groups, community and political organizing, and even filmmaking, where they continue to share their stories. We must honor our survivors and work harder to reduce gun violence to keep our residents safe and healthy. This past Sunday was also National Black HIV AIDS Awareness Day. And despite efforts in medicine to treat HIV and AIDS, there is still no cure, which leaves our people vulnerable. Almost 30,000 people living in the greater Philadelphia region have been diagnosed with HIV. Black Americans are disproportionately diagnosed with HIV, and Black women in the Northeast particularly are nearly 22 times more likely than white women to be diagnosed, and that's the Northeast portion of the U.S. HIV diagnosis among Black, gay, and bisexual men has also increased by over 12%. The Bashi Transition to Hope was founded as the first African-American organization in the U.S. to address the AIDS crisis. Since 1985, this organization has focused on providing quality health care, education, and social services, especially to low-income people of color. Babashi serves as one of Philadelphia's largest HIV and AIDS education and service provider as a source of free health care, food throughout the First Food Pantry, and a safe space for the LGBTQAI community through their HYPE program. Babashi was certified in 2020 as a champion in action in their category of inclusion and equality. Every day, Babashi works to uplift low-income and minority communities by improving their access to quality resources which weren't in their reach before. Today, this body officially honors the work of Babashi in raising awareness of Black HIV and AIDS and the services they provide to address the disparity in HIV and AIDS. And so we want to give them a big shout out and thank you for all of the work that they do, because just like COVID, AIDS is rampant, obviously, in the African-American community. And we all know someone who is suffering or who we may have lost or who is dealing with the AIDS or HIV within themselves or within their family or their circle. So big shout out to Babashi for all of the work that they have done for the city of Philadelphia for many, many years now. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Thank you for your great work on that.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Quinona Sanchez.
Thank you to my colleagues and all that passion this morning. Thank all of you. I put my parents on 7 lists. I got a call that maybe today they will have access to a COVID vaccine. This is urgent. It is necessary. And so I want to be as helpful to my colleagues in this work Council President, today I want to talk a little bit about the charge that you gave to me through the co-chairmanship of the Special Committee on Poverty Reduction. You know, for the last 2 years, we've done a lot of work around the Poverty Action Plan, and, you know, we had 3 focus areas, one of them being education and job training. Through that work, I got an opportunity to spend a lot of time with a lot of subject experts, but in particular with Dr. Generals and Dr. Height. It was clear to me that Community College of Philadelphia is an underutilized asset in the city of Philadelphia. It is clear to me that Community College of Philadelphia needs to be at the very center of our strategy for workforce development and educational attainment in the city of Philadelphia. It is clear to me that Community College should give every single high school kid in the city of Philadelphia a clear and easy pathway to dual enrollment opportunities, expanded community CTE programming, and career development opportunities. Community college should be the training arm for all our city departments as we advocated for the pre-K program and still has not happened in providing the providers and their staff with an opportunity to get their associate's degree. All things we know will help with their upward mobility, will help with their access to more income and opportunities. The Cato Scholarship is a step in the right direction, but we gotta be bolder than that. Today, I wanna publicly thank our First Lady, the Dr. Jill Biden, in her call for community college for all. Every student in Philadelphia should be able to go to community college for free. I urge Mayor Kenny and all the stakeholders to join together and prepare a bold plan. We need to be ready so that Philadelphia could be on the front lines of this federal opportunity. Community College has outlined this in their strategic plan. Let's embrace it. Let's make it happen. We need to advocate for Higher Education Act reform that includes allowing students to use Pell and federal grants for essential non-credit courses, for job training and retraining, and to support 21st century jobs, including advanced manufacturing. CCP's West Philadelphia campus is absolutely a step in that direction. I know, Council President, you've been a strong advocate of expanding community colleges' footprint and access throughout the city. I've talked to alumni Congressman Dwight Evans, who wholeheartedly supports how we support community college. We also need to align many of our existing programs to ensure that CCP can work and could collaborate with the Philadelphia Workforce Development Corporation, the Philadelphia Youth Network, and again, school-based CTE programs throughout the city. With COVID safety protocols, Council President, we need to go back to our discussions about how do we make school-based access programs to community college, as in the case of Dobbins, with tremendous renovations and opportunities so that the parents of those young people have access to that kind of training. Council President Clark, I know you support this. We got to make this happen. We need to expand language access programs, high school equivalency, GED, and ESL instruction. In my former life, when I was at Aspida, I ran a school at Edison in the evening for 300 adults. Sometimes moving forward is about going back to basics and doing some of the work that we know has been effective. We all need to advocate and support the diversity at Community College of Philadelphia, its faculty, and its administration.
Good.
I'm sorry, Council President. We need to especially make sure that community college, through its current board vacancies, has an opportunity to bring in leaders from education and the business community to help them with this work. Council should also be at the table in these discussions. We need our state government to drive more support for state funding, to pay the state's fair share of community college funding, and to ensure workforce development opportunities and funding. As we look at our tough budget season, I want us all to urge us to reimagine the challenges we face and the opportunities that these challenges create for us. Incremental steps are a good start, but it's about bold action and working together. Philadelphia students should be able to go to community college for free. Their parents should also have access, and it's our job to make it happen. As chair of education, I call on all of us to make it happen. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman, so much. Very, very much on point today. We will continue to stay focused. That education is the key for all of us. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. A few weeks ago, I talked about the fact that we can ask hard questions, but also work together in a collaborative fashion. We have been dealing with this issue of the pandemic since last March. It has been an issue that has impacted every facet of our lives. And a number of us have been doing all that we can to address this issue. Many people in this body know, and others, that I serve in some different roles and capacities in addition to being a member of City Council. So when I learned about what was happening in Detroit, where they were doing mass vaccinations, I reached out to our former president of Democratic Municipal Officials, Scott Benson, about what steps Detroit was taking in order to do mass vaccinations. And then when my colleague, Councilmember Dom, talked about the initiative that he was working on with others, I thought I would join that effort because with the opportunity to bring all the resources together to try to help as many people in the city get vaccinated. Now, I was at the press conference yesterday. The spirit and tenor of the press conference was, here's an additional idea or suggestion to try to help as many people get vaccinated as possible. Throughout the press conference, the tenor was, we support and thank the administration for the work they're doing, and here's an additional idea that can help this initiative to get as many people vaccinated as possible. The passion, I think, that you heard in today's council session came out of the fact of a statement that was made that as a African-American member of council, and more importantly, as a black man who was born black and will die black, was very offensive. But I'm going to take the high road because it's important that even though what has happened in the past, that we work together to address this issue. And I'm hoping that coming out of today's session, there's not going to be additional attacks from one side or the other. Let's just come together and try to bring all the resources that we have, from no matter what background or perspective, to try to get as many people in the city of Philadelphia vaccinated. It's not about Alan Dom's perspective or Cindy Bass or Derek Green. We're all the city of Philadelphia. It's not Mayor Kenny, it's not Dr. Farley, it's not members of council. We all are the city of Philadelphia. So I'm hoping that coming out of this conversation, we're going to move forward in a collective way on working together, meaning briefings, strategies on how we're moving forward. And it's not that I have the best way versus your way. It's about how we all can come together. And so I'm hoping that coming out of today's conversation, we're going to have that. We're not going to have additional attacks in the media about what this person said or what that person said, but we're going to move forward. This is a pandemic, as I've said, and we've all said, that we've never seen before. People are afraid, they're fearful of losing additional loved ones, losing their job, losing their business. So let's work going forward to address this issue. And we have a lot of other major issues that we've got to work on. We just came out of a year where we had 499 homicides. We're already 55% higher than that now. We've got to work on the pandemic, this homicide issue. We're going to have a very challenging budget process. So we have to work together. And that was the spirit out of yesterday's press conference. And for me, that's been the spirit of this body, trying to work together and not making it us versus them, because we are all the city of Philadelphia. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gauthier.
Thank you, Council President, and good morning, everyone. Earlier this week, in a span of less than 24 hours, we lost 7 Philadelphians to gun violence. That's not just 7 lives brought to an untimely end, including a 15-year-old boy who had his entire life ahead of him. It's not just 7 families grieving the sudden loss of a loved one. It's entire communities traumatized by the constant gunfire in their streets. It's kids distracted from their schoolwork. It's adults afraid to go to and from their jobs. It's small business owners whose work is impeded by the presence of violent crime. And unfortunately, this day wasn't an aberration. Far from it. Less than 2 months into 2021, there have been 63 homicides in Philadelphia, and that's a 51% increase from the same time last year. Let's be clear about what that means. We are currently on track to have 50% more homicides than we had in 2020, the second most violent year in our city's modern history. And this violence is concentrated in Black and brown neighborhoods. It's a reflection of the systematic disinvestment, discrimination, and disadvantages that have been forced upon our communities of color for generations. Clearly, we must devote more resources towards reducing gun violence. Our neighbors living with the reality of this violence day in and day out need relief right now. And that's why today, along with my co-sponsors and longtime champions of combating gun violence, Councilmember Jones and Councilmember Johnson, I've introduced a resolution calling on President Joe Biden and the United States Congress to implement the president's proposal to end the gun violence epidemic. President Biden campaigned on an ambitious plan to address gun violence, including a $900 million initiative to fund evidence-based violence interventions in the cities experiencing the highest number of homicides per capita. This funding would save a tremendous number of lives. It would fund the expansion of existing gun violence prevention programs and provide necessary resources to launch new efforts. President Biden's plan also calls for reforming federal programs that serve communities affected by violence to address trauma, increasing federal funding for trauma-informed and culturally responsive care, and creating a network of trauma care centers for survivors of violence. I am deeply supportive of all these ideas, but it's time to act. In the week since Inauguration Day, there have already been more than 1,000 lives lost to gun violence across our country. So today we are asking President Biden to move quickly in implementing this plan and to prioritize the parts of it that aim to end the current gun violence emergency in Black and brown communities, both here in Philadelphia and in cities across the country. But I want to be very clear. This does not absolve our city government from making gun violence reduction a top priority. Back in September, 14 members of this body supported my resolution urging Mayor Kenney to declare gun violence a citywide emergency. 5 months later, 1,200 Philadelphians and counting have signed a petition calling on Mayor Kenney to move forward with these actions. Philadelphians know what an emergency is. Gun violence is an emergency. People dying on our streets every day is an emergency. People feeling like their cries for help are going unanswered is an emergency. So today, while we're calling on the president to take action, that doesn't let us off the hook as a city to do more to bring peace and justice to our communities. The most urgent and fundamental human need is to be safe, to be free from the dangers that might suddenly end our lives. If people aren't safe, nothing else matters. And that's why we need action now to address this violence head on. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman. Keep up that fight. This is so significant. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I simply want to make an announcement for those Philadelphians who live in zip codes 19150 and 19138. Again, 19150 and 19138. I want to invite you to attend our Mount Airy Community Council virtual meeting on Thursday, February 18th at 6 p.m. Thursday, February 18th at 6 p.m. If you have an interest in youth activities, any community-based activities, land use activities regarding the RCO, Town Watch, our vote squad, and or ward structures, we invite you to participate in this meeting. And the reason is, and I need to say this for the record to some community-based leaders who I met with earlier this week, Mr. President, who were talking about having received an influx of invitations. And I don't know how they're sort of folks are acquiring this information, but the residents have said, like, well, we've never heard of these groups before, but they're sort of calling on us, asking us to participate in different activities, but sort of we don't know who they are. With that being said, I want to remind those of you who are in zip codes 19150 and 19138 that all of the organizations that will be participating in this meeting on Thursday, February the 18th, are organized and run by people who live in these communities. The agendas, the strategies, the methods being employed to address issues in the communities are not being decided by people who don't live there. For residents in my 20 and 26 and other zip codes, we're coming. You just have to, it's taking us some time. But as soon as we get through this Mount Airy Community Council meeting, you know we will be moving forward. Their website is Mount Airy Community Council at gmail.com, or their email address, Mount Airy Community Council at gmail.com, number 267-908-3824 if you want to RSVP. If you didn't get that, always feel free to email or call my office, Heather Pierce, heather.pierce@phila.gov, or 215-686-3454 or 3455. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to provide a quick update regarding our ongoing police reform work. As you know, we held a historic hearing last fall in accordance with Bill 200364A and Resolution 200546. The hearing went on for 7 hours, and we heard from nearly 100 members of the public about what they want to see in the new police contract. This was the first time the public was ever able to offer comment on this crucial contract, which dictates nearly 15% of our city's budget. Following the hearing, my team compiled a report summarizing all of the testimony that was offered, both during the hearing and in writing. And I wanted to stop and thank my team for their diligent work, Taylor, Eliza, Santos, Dornell, and Sean. We then used those findings to develop additional recommendations for further action on police reform at the city, state, and federal levels. As a member of the Police Reform Working Group, I look forward to our continued work on police reform in the city of Philadelphia. Today, I am publicly releasing the report. It was important to me to lay out very clearly what we heard from the public and to offer recommendations based on their testimony. This report has been shared with our Deputy Mayor, Rich Laser, and I want to thank him and his team for participating in the process. I truly appreciate how our Deputy Mayor always answers when we call, and he works to be responsive so we can be responsive to our constituents. So thank you, Deputy Mayor Laser, for being a shining example of how to work together with the legislative branch of government. The report is available on our council page at phlcouncil.com/Catherine Gilmore Richardson. And lastly, Mr. President, I also wanted to rise in support of my colleagues' call to work together with the administration to ensure we do all we can to get as many Philadelphians vaccinated as possible, and that we speak with one voice for one Philadelphia. I recognize that this is not about council or the administration. This is about saving lives and protecting the health and safety of the people we serve. So I look forward to the work we will do together. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. That appears to be the last speech on behalf of the minority and majority. Before I call for an adjournment, I just want to say one quick thing. We will figure this out. Okay, when it's time to step up, City Council always steps up, all right? And I fully anticipate that we will step up in the most meaningful way. We're going to work together one way or another, because the reality is we all represent the city of Philadelphia. We're the 18 board of directors of the city. So this doesn't happen unless we get engaged and we figure this out. So we'll be reaching out shortly. There's some information that should be forthcoming about what is happening as it relates to the relationship with the federal government. So we'll reach out shortly, and hopefully can start this process so we can only have one silo, not these multiple silos across the government. Guys, thank you as always so much for your passion and your hard work and your commitment to the city of Philadelphia. Again, I know I say this every term. It's the best city council that I've ever worked with, right? You know? So I'm gonna say it again. With that, Chair, I would like to recognize Councilman Jones for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. The number one call my office should be getting right now, this time of year, should be potholes. It is, where do I get my vaccination? Which is so different. And tomorrow we'll be at 57th and Vine with the testing van between 10 and 12. All people are welcome to come get tested until they can come get vaccinated. And with that, Mr. President, I move that council stand adjourned until Thursday, February 18th, 2021 at 10 a.m.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that the council stand adjourned until Thursday, February 18th, 2021 at 10 a.m. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it. Thank you all very much. Talk to you guys shortly. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.
All right, you've just been listening to Philadelphia City Council ending right about noon. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back from the break, we're going to assess what we've learned, what we've heard in the Philadelphia City Council here on City Council Live, as we've been providing you with gavel-to-gavel coverage of the Philadelphia City Council. You just heard that meeting adjourned by Philadelphia City Council President Darrell Clark and also 4th District Councilman Curtis Jones adjourning. And we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have phone lines open for the entire hour, the noon hour, 215-634-8065, toll-free 866-361-0900. Let's take a break and we'll come right back with your phone calls.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend, we created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour work day, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager. And Tony Staten Hayden, Executive Director of Lesset.
The WURD Radio Newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting WURDradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio, messages from our President and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio Newsletter. Black love is in the air. This Valentine's Day, WURD Radio celebrates Black love. Black love is what keeps us united and moving forward. Let us know what Black love is to you. Show us how you show love to your family, friends, yourself, or of course, that special someone who makes your heart soar. Send us a photo of you and your loved one with the hashtag BlackLoveIs. And let us know what Black love is to you. Send the photo to social media at WURDradio.com and we'll shout you out. Stay connected to WURD Radio at onWURD on Facebook and at onWURD on Twitter and Instagram.
Tune in this Saturday at 10 a.m. for the Educational Pulse with the School District of Philadelphia with host Dr. William Haidt.
Hello, I'm Jose Hernandez, and I have been using a wheelchair since my accident in 1995. I guess if I had one message for the general public, it would be that I appreciate your help, but please ask first. I know you mean well, but I've actually got everything under control. And if I don't, I'll ask for assistance. People with disabilities just want the same respect and consideration as everyone else.
This is a message from United Spinal Association. Download our disability etiquette booklet at unitedspinal.org.
This is not a fad for us. We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are undeniably, indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media. WURD. WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at forward. WURD TV. Black Talk Media. Reality Check with Charles Ellison right now on WURD Radio and WURDradio.com.
All right, welcome back to Reality Check. It's Reality Check Thursdays, which means it's time for City Council Live, and we just heard the Philadelphia City Council as a whole meeting, and they are discussing a number of issues, also offering a number of bills or introducing a number of pieces of legislation. There was only one person offering public comment, so that is your moment, Philadelphia. To interact and interface directly with the Philadelphia City Council. For all we hear, all the issues that people have with Philadelphia City Council, we have to endeavor, we've got to be better and take advantage of that opportunity to let our voices be heard and to tell Philadelphia City Council what's on our mind, or to offer our own insights, our own expert insights and perspective on those bills, because they can't think of everything. And so it's really, truly important for people to participate in public comment. So we'll do the best that we can here on this program to get you to where you need to go to find out information on how to sign up for public comment and to do so in a meaningful and substantive way. The phone lines are open, 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. We're just heading into the Reality Check portion of our Thursday edition, which is the last day of the Reality Check week, and it is also City Council Live Day. 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900. I did see a lot of commentary here in the Facebook Live section at our Facebook Live WURD TV page. Go to facebook.com/forward. A lot of lively commentary, some colorful commentary as always in the Facebook Live session, so I appreciate that. Michelle Pugh saying that it is, quote, totally unacceptable that the leaders at the City Health Department and the Kinney administration do not have a detailed plan to vaccinate the citizens of Philadelphia, lack of basic information just to direct the residents of the city. I completely agree with that. assessment, and a number of members of the City Council, the Philadelphia City Council, do as well. One particular City Council person that stood out to me was comments from Council Member Alan Dom, who's at large, had some very made a very damning assessment of the administration. You know, you normally don't hear from Dom, but on this particular issue, and after he's coming out of this session, the hearing that they had last week regarding the Philly Fighting COVID contract, and what Councilwoman Cindy Bassett described as a 6-hour plus long meeting or hearing trying to determine exactly what happened, and Alan Dom giving some very pointed comments about the administration, the Kenney administration's performance thus far in vaccine distribution. And so, I mean, when you're hearing from Dom and he's giving, like, you know, scathing, giving out a scathing assessment, or giving out, you know, fairly pointed remarks about a situation like this, then if you're in the Kenney administration, if you're the mayor, if you're the city's public health commissioner, you know you messed up, like, and you're still messing up. That's the problem. You're still messing up. I think, just sort of paraphrasing here, I don't have the quote in front of me, but if you go to hashtag City Council Live on Twitter, I was actively, as we were listening into the program, which is what I normally do for hashtag City Council Live and also hashtag Reality Check, providing key quotes that I've heard and placing them on Twitter within the limitations that are there. But Councilman Dom saying, oh, here it is, when you don't build equity into the citywide vaccine distribution plan on the front end, you have lost the battle for equity on the back end. And that's a quote from Councilmember Alan Dom. When you don't, he also saying, when you don't centrally control where these vaccines go, 22-year-olds can steal them and distribute them to their friends. Philly can do better. We have a stunning failure here to plan collaboratively. And I have to say, I agree with that assessment. That's not an endorsement of Councilmember Dom. It's just, that's full stop, a very correct and factual statement, what he's saying there. We're not seeing the mayor showing any emotion or showing any care whatsoever for the violence that's wrecking the city. Not seeing the same, not really caring much or trying to push his agencies into action during this pandemic. I mean, it's very, and I don't say this lightly, it's very Trumpian. It's very Trump-like of Mayor Jim Kenney right now, the way he's acting, not being very responsive. He's not loud and boisterous and on Twitter like the former president, but the way he's acting, it's just he's tapped out. And he's lame ducking as we speak. Like, he got his second term. There's not anyone, there's no challenges on the horizon. It's unclear whether or not he is interested in or running for anything else or any other sort of office in the future. And, you know, he's just marking off the days on the calendar. I mean, that's the attitude. And I'm not the only one who's saying that. A lot of folks are saying that. And this is just not the time. That's not what people get elected to do. You don't get elected to check off days on a calendar or put something on your resume. You get elected to be a public servant, to do the work of the people, and to also show a passion for that, and to, you know, to do the best that you can. I completely understand. I'm not in the shoes of the mayor, and it is a very difficult job being a mayor. I have worked for a few mayors, and I know how of a big city, and I know how difficult that job is, and I do not envy the position that they're in. But because I've been in a position where I've worked for elected officials, state, local, and federal, I know that I've been able to, over the years, sort out the good ones from the bad ones. You know, I've been able to sift through the good, the bad, and the ugly of elected officials. I really am not very admiring right now of the way this current Philadelphia mayor is operating. It's very disappointing, and it's very distressing to look at in the middle of high gun violence, and you know, and at least being behind the scenes and really pushing his agencies and his employees to work in unison, and to, you know, it's not enough to just be saying Black Lives Matter in the height of the moment, or to say, yeah, you know, I know all about white privilege, I'm with you, I understand, but, you know, well, you have to act like you understand that, and you know, make sure that the residents who are in need are the ones who are getting vaccinated first, that they are the first and top priority. You can't have a Philadelphia going next level or reaching any pinnacle of promise if you're leaving the most vulnerable folks in the city behind like this. It's just, it's astounding. It is really astounding. And people really have to get to it, because it's, I think it was Councilwoman Cindy Bass said, you know, she's like, she said the same thing I say every now and then. I completely agree with her. It is not rocket science. It is not. It really is not at all rocket science to implement an effective and efficient and centralized vaccine distribution plan for the city of Philadelphia. I've read that plan too. It is confusing. And even the manifestation of that plan right now is extremely confusing, and it's confusing a lot of folks out there. They still don't know where to go to. The city's not pivoting. The most we have in terms of accountability is the firing of a deputy health commissioner, and one wonders, okay, well, when are we starting to look at the possibility of the current health commissioner, the man at the top, who's tasked to roll out this plan? When is he going to be held accountable? So, like, it's just, you know, I think it was Councilmember Isaiah Thomas. He made a point a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about the school superintendent. He was saying, well, you know, you don't want to fire people in the middle of the pandemic. No, you can. You can fire people in the middle of it. you can do it if you want to do things right. You know, so it's like, you know, if you can't do it right, and, you know, don't get in other people's way. I'm trying to remember who else was saying, you know, I forget which council member was saying, you know, hey, listen, Mayor, if you can't do it right, well, then just get out of people's way who do want to do it right, and provide the support that's needed so we can get this done. Let me go to George out of Center City, who's calling in for a reality check. George?
Charles, how are you this morning?
All right. What's happening?
And you're giving your normal Thursday, you know, praise and worship speech to let them know. But Charles, one thing I got to say, I got to respect that. It's not like you haven't been around and know how it's played. It's like, you can't. How can you get mad at people when it's a system in place that works for who it's supposed to work for? I mean, let's take this thing where they're talking about the stadium. I agree with Kenny on that, because if you look at it, all the people that are computer literate and smart, they're the ones who's getting the vaccine, because they're making you go online. You got to do all this here, do all that there, and it's frustrating to people who even know how to do it. So therefore, people who are computer savvy, they're the ones who's going to be the first ones to get the pandemic. I really think it shouldn't even be that way. But, you know, unless you know somebody, and you're not going to get it. It's just the way it is. People like to sit there and play games with words and how it should and ought to be, but it doesn't work that way. In this city, this here's the last of the cities where it's all a wink and a blink and a deal and all the other things. That's just the way it works, you know. Let me ask you something else, Charles, that I know that you are up on. First, when is the police commissioner, since she's making her black rounds now, she have a black card. You know, she turned a white card in, her honorary white card. She turned that in, got a black card. So now she can talk to Negroes. When is she coming on your show? Or has she promised somebody else before you was the first one to ask? So what's the deal on that? That's the first question.
No, you know, it's being worked on, so I'm not sure exactly
okay,
you know, where that is. Yeah, we put out the request. Let's put it like that. We're just waiting.
Okay,
on
just remember now, you're black now, but you might get a shot. You might get a shot.
Yeah, well, she's been on. You know, she's been on before. I've actually, well, one, she's been on before, and then I had to moderate a big black clergy of Philly panel, and she was there for that. So, you know, now we're just trying to get her back. Yeah, you're right. But I mean, you're right in the sense that we need to get her back. It's being worked on. I'm very eager.
Okay, we wasted time on her. Let's move to the next thing. Tell me one thing that the black clergy has ever done besides give us a bunch of losing elected officials. Name one thing that they ever done. They never deal with the pandemic. Maybe that's a conversation you need to have directly with black clergy, George. Yeah, you're right, because they're sorry. You know, but they're on my list. I just haven't gotten around to getting them. You know, let them keep on taking those envelopes that they don't do nothing with their parishioners. You know, everything they take is for them personally. You know, they're the worst of the worst, but they live, you know, they use religion for everything. They play the role of godly. They're the righteous. Them, believe me, that black clergy ain't even worth the name. They ain't even worth mentioning.
At this moment in time, I think what has to happen, George, I got to let you go because I got to take on someone else. But what has to happen now is we've got to come up with a plan. I know what you're talking about as far as the way the city has operated for so many years, but and I like a lot of points that you make. I mean, some fine points, but on that fundamental question of the way Philly is, it's got to start moving in the direction of the way it has to be. It has to. We're gonna have to demand that Philly operate differently. You know, we need to dismantle all that. Because it's not working. Obviously, it's not working. So there's a wide recognition, just like you said. Everyone agrees. Yeah, Philly is broken, and the way that the city's politics and policymaking operates is very broken. I'm frustrated to the point where I just think that that's not tolerable anymore. It's not. We should have zero tolerance for it, and we should start looking for creative ways to move in an opposite direction and move in another direction to make it. So what's the plan for helping Philly now operate right? Making sure Philly works for people that live in Philly, for people who care about Philly, for people who grew up in Philly and also who've been traumatized by Philadelphia. Like I need to know, I know for me personally, I have a commitment to figure out like what creative ways to make Philly operate better. Because I've watched people very close to me, my mother included, die as a result of inaction or of neglect in a place like Philadelphia. And I just, you know, for me, it's just a personal commitment to, like, I don't want to wallow too much in, you know, the sob stories of how Philly is, you know, does this or does that or doesn't do, you know, we got to figure out, I need to come up, like, what's that kind of 10, 15, 20-year business plan for a better Philly, and a Philly that's better for people that it's for so long hasn't worked for. We got to figure that out. We got to figure out what that plan is. So, and for the police commissioner, for example, like, yeah, I mean, well, I honestly, right now, no, I'm not pleased. I don't think the police commissioner is working at optimal performance. However, that said, as I've said before, I want the police commissioner to work. She's got to work. We just in that moment right now. There's a lot of people getting shot and murdered, kids dying. So, like, what do we do? How do we figure that out? And what's the relationship between her and the mayor? And we got to figure out, like, what's a way to kind of get through to the mayor? Because emotionally, he seems disconnected from all of this. So, which is not the time to be emotionally disconnected from a city of crisis. Going through pandemic and this and rampant gun violence. I mean, Philly's now at the top. It's like top 2 in terms of, you know, big cities with high murder gun violence rates. So we've got to figure that out. Let me go to Amir out of Dallas, Texas, who is calling for a reality check. Amir, I was just tweeting about Texas. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Charles. Thank you for taking my call. I have a question for you. It's probably a little bit off topic. It's regarding H.R. 40. It's regarding H.R. 40, the proposal to create a committee to study reparations. I know that before that it has come up, it was referred to a subcommittee of the Homeland Security Committee, the Constitution and Civil Rights Committee. I've also noticed that 21 out of the 25 Democrats on the Homeland Security Committee have co-sponsored this bill. So my question to you is, if they have enough votes to get this thing out of the Judiciary Committee to put it to the entire floor of the House, why would they refer it to the subcommittee? And my fear is that they're doing this to hopefully kill it so they don't have to put it to the full House. Have you had discussions with members of Congress since the Biden administration to get this into the full House for the president to sign it?
I have not. You know, as far as I know, it was right now, I think it has about 157 co-sponsors. I'm going to it now. I haven't followed up on it recently. I haven't had any conversations about it recently, not since last year, not since we were even talking to like local area Congress people, just seeing if they signed on to it, and we did get like the signage from those local area, Philly area members of Congress. We talked to members of the Congressional Black Caucus. Just right now, it's not. We need to revive it because right now it's not a priority. Because I guess because of pandemic relief and the work that they're doing on that now. But I mean, the last action, at least according to what the House is saying, I don't know about that. That's really where were you getting that information? I'm sorry, Amir, because I hadn't seen that it was referred to Homeland Security.
Yeah, I was getting that from Congress.gov. When I follow the bill on there, and they actually referred it to the Constitution and Civil Rights Committee, which is scheduled a hearing for it on the 17th, which is 6 days from now.
Okay, got it.
So my concern, as I told you before, is they might be putting this to the subcommittee to intentionally kill it so that they can say, okay, we can't get it to the full House when they've already got enough votes on the Judiciary Committee, or should I say enough co-sponsors, to get it out. Even if every Democrat or every Republican voted against it, they could still get it to the full House. And if Biden has already said that he is for racial equity, this would be the time for the Congressional Black Caucus and everybody to put him on the call for this. I think it goes hand in hand with that.
Right now, like, let me see. The last thing I say, I'm there at HR 40 right now. It was introduced and out, so it was referred to Judiciary Committee on January 4th. All the actions are on January 4th right now. And then introduced in-house, so I'm not seeing anything beyond. I'll look a little bit more into it.
If you look at
I suspect too. I mean, the big key is not so much whether or not it has potential to pass the House, but then what happens when you get to the Senate? I'm just not seeing it yet that it'll pass the Senate. It's definitely got the support that it needs to pass the House, and because we've got a near majority here, so we need to get more sponsors for it, for it to pass the House. I'm sure that it would. That was the last conversation I had, that there was confidence that it could pass the House. But I think everyone's like, well, it's not going to pass the Senate. So, what's the game plan, the strategy for that?
Right, gotcha.
Yeah, okay. And actually, speaking of which, Amir, we're trying to reactivate our weekly discussions with the Congressional Black Caucus. They got a new chair, and I knew this was going to happen. We had a very good chair last Congressional Black Caucus chair, but they rotate every couple of years. Congresswoman Karen Bass was the best out of California, and just in terms of accessibility to media, or at least, to local media outlets like ourselves, like Philadelphia, which we project nationally, though, like WURD. The current Congressional Black Caucus chair, they're just not, who's that? Joyce.
Yeah, she's out
of Ohio. It's just not, it's just like we're just in a waiting pattern. They get a whole new staff, and, so, like, they're not prioritizing coming, reinstituting those weekly conversations with the Congressional Black Caucus. We're working on it, though. We're working on it. So, call you're in Dallas, so that's Congresswoman Sheila Jackson. That's your Congresswoman, right? Yeah, call their office. Say, you talk to us. Also, let them know. It'd be great to have her on. I think the way we worked it out was we go to the CBC office to get the other members. It makes it more efficient. And just Karen Bass was just fantastic yesterday, and her staff. But they're just, I don't know what's going on. But I expected it. I knew it was going to happen. But yeah, call them and find out. One, get an update. You're absolutely right to be concerned about that when it goes to subcommittee like that. And then two, let them know about us. We'd love to talk with the Congresswoman to get an update from her. But no, thanks for that call.
I will do that.
We'll keep track.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. Phone lines are open, and definitely looking forward to getting people's responses on what they heard in City Council Live. So we have the phone lines open until the 11 o'clock hour. Oh, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll take your phone calls after this quick break here on City Council Live Reality Check.
I would like to play a little tune I just composed not so long ago.
Hey, family. Do you like hearing the best jazz selections aired by 3 of the best jazz announcers in Philadelphia? Well, tune in to 96.1 FM, 96.1 FM, and 900 AM, WURD Radio, independent black media, for Freedom Sounds of Jazz. Freedom Sounds of Jazz. Hear Freedom Sounds of Jazz 10 p.m. Fridays with your hosts in rotation, Aquila, Jonathan Bay, and David Fritz. That's 10 p.m. Friday nights on WURD 96.1 FM and 900 AM, independent black media.
Want the latest in Word swag? Check out the shop tab on WordRadio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on WordRadio.com. Show the world that you're all about black. Talk media. Reality Check with Charles Ellison right now on Word Radio and WordRadio.com.
All right, welcome back to Reality Check 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WordRadio.com, Word TV. It's the Thursday edition of Reality Check, so it's also City Council Day, City Council Live Day, and we get a little bit more local focus than we do throughout the rest of the week. We have state, local, national coverage here on Reality Check WURD, and really throughout much of WURD, but it gets a little bit sharper in what's happening in the nation's capital as well. We're back at it in City Hall, in Philadelphia City Hall, virtually, of course. I'm not really in City Council chambers, but you just see that virtually. It's just a wall banner behind us, but we just want to kind of give you a look and feel for the Philadelphia City Council chambers. One of the more pleasant, aesthetically pleasant, for me, cosmetically pleasant places to be in. So I do miss it. So I'm looking forward to this pandemic ending, and so we can get back into City Council chambers. 215-634-8065, toll free, 866-361-0900. Let me go to Pat out of West Philly, who's calling in for a reality check. Miss Pat?
Hey, good afternoon, Charles. How are you today?
Good afternoon.
I wanted to share some information, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. So I actually have an app called Nextdoor, and I just got a flyer about the vaccine being given out tomorrow from the hours of 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. in Cheltenham, Wyncote, PA, and the address is 2401 Cheltenham Avenue. Now, if you're 75 years or older, you just have to have proof of your age. If you are younger than 75, you have to bring proof that you are what medical professionals say a chronic illness like a diabetes. But the shot is being given out. And the good part about this is you can register there. You don't have to go online. You don't have to do any of that. You just have to show up, register, and you can receive the shot. Now, this was on the app Nextdoor, so if anybody wants to check it out, it's actually there. So I just wanted to share that and wish you a very happy Valentine's Day.
All right, yeah, Valentine's Day coming up. Yeah, happy Valentine's Day to you too. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. No, that's real good information. And so once again, the let me see, 2401 West Cheltenham Avenue on Wyncote, vaccine distribution happening. What was that again? Tomorrow, today?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, 11 a.m. to 4.
11 a.m. to 2.
11 a.m. to 2. Okay, that's good to hear. So is that for just Montgomery County residents or Philadelphia residents?
It doesn't say Montgomery residents. It just says you can register there.
Okay, got it. Okay.
It has not specific with you have to live in. I mean, I would think that if they're telling you just to come in and register,
it's just telling. So you don't need an appointment. You don't need an appointment.
Exactly.
Okay, you just come in and you can get registered right there on the spot. Okay.
Right there on the spot. Yeah.
Because I'm so interested in, normally I would also, I'm really hoping we can also get into a rhythm where, whether it's Montgomery County, Philly County, or whomever, wherever they're getting these things, rather than have people, I really appreciate you doing that, Ms. Pat, because I think that's a public service because you're just trying to get people vaccinated. But, hoping that the organizations out there that are doing these things, that are organizing these types of drives, these events to get people vaccinated, contact us as a station, contact our sales and marketing department, talk about how you can get PSAs on an ongoing basis because it shouldn't have to take Ms. Pat. I love her for doing that. because she's being a concern. She's doing the right thing. She's being a concerned resident. But think about, wouldn't it be so much better if, thank you, Ms. Pat, for calling too and offering that information. But wouldn't it be better if those organizations were calling WURD directly and saying, hey, you know what? We've got this vaccine distribution thing, event, affair happening at this address. Can we get an ad out? Can we get a PSA out to let the larger general WURD listening public know? And making that more, I really feel, I'm really looking forward to a moment or a time where vaccination distribution is transparent. It's centralized and transparent. Like there's one site I can, I don't know, maybe somebody create a site and you call it like phillyvaccines.org, right? And you go to it and it's just like, boom, there's that map of places in Philly, maybe surrounding counties where you can get vaccine. And also what you need to do to go ahead and sign up if you do an appointment on the spot, you get registered on the spot, wherever. We don't have that right now. And so, those organizations could also be reaching out to us as an outlet, as WURD, and, making sure that we're transparent about vaccine distribution, because there's still a lot of scattered efforts, and we got to be better at that. So it shouldn't be a secret where you can get vaccine. Right? It shouldn't be a secret. What's the big secret? We all got to get vaccinated. I don't know why people, I notice how some people they go get vaccinated and it's you find out about everything after the fact. And it's we all got to get vaccinated, y'all. There's I was reading this really clever op-ed in the Washington Post last week, which was spot on, by Alexandra Petrie. And she was talking about vaccine envy. We're in that phase now. Some people are getting it, vaccine haves and vaccine have-nots. And I've been talking about that, America being America, right? And it's just so crazy. It's insane and it's dangerous. We should all be making an effort. You should not, when you get your vaccine, you should not just stop and say, I got my vaccine, I'm good. You should be actively letting people know. We should all, when we get our vaccine, we should be actively letting people know, hey, this is where I got my vaccine. Let me see if I can try to get you in line too. We all got it, because that actually helps you. You thinking you getting the vaccine and you good, and it's okay, I don't want nobody else to get it because I don't want them to take my second dose or whatever. I don't know what goes through people's minds on this. That actually does you no good. That actually does your family no good, because then that's fewer people getting vaccinated, and that's longer to end the pandemic. That means that we actually prolong the time we get to herd immunity. It makes no sense. It's stupid for you to do that. I don't understand. People have got to understand that. So 2 things we need to be doing. 1, yes, go get vaccinated, but then 2, be active at letting people know where you got vaccinated or where like how Ms. Pat did. See, Ms. Pat gets it, because Ms. Pat's listen, I'm going to get vaccinated, but I need to make sure everyone else around me is getting vaccinated, because I want this thing to end, and I don't want people to be unvaccinated, and that's exactly how she's thinking, and that's the way you have to think, and I love her for doing that. Let me go to Tyrone. Thank you, Ms. Pat. Let me go to Tyrone out of North Philly, who's calling in for a reality check. Tyrone.
Well, peace and blessings to you again, my brother. How are you?
Hey, peace. How are you doing?
I'm great, man, and much love and respect to my WURD family.
Yes,
before I make my point, Charles, and once again, brother, I got to pat you on the back, because what you have said to George in your closing, just saying that you're doing everything possible on your end to try to, bring the information, help folks, to make decisions in terms of how we're going to, get beyond all the things that we are faced with. And I say this to you, brother, and I mean from the bottom of my heart, brother. You do that without question. And again, always got to say, when you're on with webinar, you seem to go more into some of your ideas and your belief in some of the things that you see needs to happen. You seem to go more in depth in it. And I, look, brother, from the bottom of my heart, I truly appreciate it, because right now, even with the virus, even with all the killings and things that are happening now in the community, we still have folks who, I guess, to what's going on. See, right now we're about needing to address the situation, particularly what's going on in our community with our young people. And I say it all the time that we've got to do something to help them get through what they're going through. And I just want to give a shout out to the Gregory family because, again, they just lost, one of their loved ones, because of all the things that are just coming at us. And we are just, many of us are just throwing our hands up. And this ain't no time to be throwing our hands up. It's about us coming together, us trying to help one another, like what you just said. When somebody gets something, share it. So thank you, my brother, for allowing me to share. My brothers and sisters, this is a time where we all got to be about lifting one another up. We can't continue to be tearing one another down because we are at war, and those folks who are creating all of the havoc and killing in our community, for whatever reason, just don't see the war that we are in. Love you, brother. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you. We love back at you, Mr. Tyrone. I appreciate you. It's good to hear from you. Good to hear your voice. And thanks for those kind words. He's absolutely right. And we have to share. Yeah, this is the moment where you share. You have to share. We're going to have to. We have no choice. And sharing is just as beneficial if you have issues already with sharing. Even before the pandemic, you're just not that sharing kind of person. You're more self-absorbed and self-centered. Okay, all right, that's you. Well, sharing in a moment like this, it benefits you. But if I have to put it that way, if it's if the way the plea that Mr. Tyrone just made, or the public service that Ms. Pat just did, if that doesn't move you, and you're like, well, it ain't got nothing to do with me, it does have a lot to do with you. Like, you're not going to get out of this if you're not sharing. You got to share when it comes to vaccine distribution. I'm just urging people, share that information whenever possible. You have to share information on where to get good, solid, nutritious food. There's a lot of people out there, food insecurity. And I just saw a report out from December. I think it was from the was it the Northeast Community Development Partnership? But anyway, they put out a report about food insecurity in December, came out end of December. Food insecurity has increased by 16% in Philadelphia. 16%. Food insecurity was already at about a quarter of the city's residents were food insecure before the pandemic. Now that has gone up by 16%. That's not good. So, don't like you not giving information to your neighbors that you might be critical information about getting people in touch with sources of food. That doesn't help you out, because then you're just going to have a bunch of hungry, angry, and potentially violent neighbors around you. So it's just, all this stuff, it's all interconnected, and we have to, in a moment like this, in order for us to get through it and get to the other side and get to that point of what we feel, what some of us feel, in some cases objectively, in some cases subjectively, normal, we have to share. Just to underscore Mr. Tyrone's point, we have no choice but to share. I'm going to take a break, and then when we come back, we'll just continue to have open phone lines, 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. Let's take a break and we'll be right back.
Temple University, Philadelphia's public university, is committed to meaningful change that resonates throughout our community. We are investing more than $1 million in anti-racism education and programming, including creating a Center for Anti-Racism Research, developing a bridge program for high school students in North Philadelphia, and expanding our Department of Africology and African American Studies, which is the first in the country to offer a doctoral program. Our students are the next generation of innovators and leaders championing a better tomorrow.
Coping-19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
If you're feeling increasingly lonely right now, you're not alone. It's totally normal. Even though we may not be able to get together in person, connecting virtually with friends and family still gives you a chance to interact with people and may help raise your spirits. Join a virtual book club, set up group text chats, or online video coffee breaks with coworkers.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
Reality Check with Charles Ellison right now on WURD Radio and WURDradio.com.
All right, welcome back to Reality Check. 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900. Phone lines are open. Also, don't forget to sign up for your 4WURD membership today for WURD. Black History Month is not just a month. It's a year. It's a lifetime. It's a lifetime of Black history, and we do it 365 days a year. We don't just deliver Black history. We also we create it every day. We craft it here every day on WURD to continue to support that effort, to support that empowerment. Become a 4WURD member to support this institution because because of all the various services and the type of information, like before this break, the type of information, the type of family we have that provides, that shares that intelligence and information. If you want to keep that legacy going, you want to keep that operating, help us through a 4WURD membership. Go to wordradio.com/join now. You can also, at the checkout phase, put in the word check when you are asked. Put in the word check to show that Reality Check is your favorite program on WURD, and that's what drove you to sign up for your 4WURD membership today. We appreciate that. I really do appreciate that, too. I'm sure the Reality Check team appreciates you. So thank you so much. Wordradio.com/join now. 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900. Derek out of North Philly is calling in for Reality Check. Derek, what's going on?
Good afternoon, Brother Charles. Love, peace, blessings, and prosperity to you.
Peace, peace.
Brother Charles, this is so much that's going on in the world right now, and I appreciate having the opportunity to speak my feelings through words. And I love America, and I love Philadelphia. And it's just that listening to the station, I'm just hearing the people point fingers at one another and just coming at each other. And they all are good intentioned people, but I just know that they're frustrated, like myself. And so I draw from the example to say this, that Jesus had disciples, and his disciples bickered among themselves about who was the greatest and who was doing this and he was doing what. But he said that the least one of you, or the one that has the love that's manifest, is the greatest. So in our frustration, let's back up a little bit and just see how we can use love as a tool to interact with our politics, because that seems to be part of the problem, is that humanity is away from the politics for the commons. I know that they try to separate religion and state, but at some point we don't allow it to intercede where humanity should be in a place instead of politics. So let's just try to devote ourselves in this time of crisis. Let's try to devote ourselves to love, peace, blessings, and prosperity along with our politics. And that may mean dealing with people who are on the other side. But we need to do whatever it's going to take to change the situation. So let's not forget love. That is important. Thank you, Charles.
Yeah. Thank you, Derek. I appreciate that. It's public service announcement from Derek out of North Philly. He's absolutely right. Tyrone, the theme there, sharing. Derek, the theme there, love, right? Ms. Pat, public service, sharing that information, getting that information out there. That's just, those are key qualities that are needed when you're going through a crisis moment like this. Sharing love, public service, and everyone can be a public servant. We can all be a public servant, and we have to be. We must be in a time like this, particularly in trying to get people vaccinated. When you go to, it's not just Philly having that problem, but it's just all over the state. You have a very low number. You look at the data that the Pennsylvania Health Department is providing right now on the number of people who've been vaccinated in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania by race. So far, you have 130,776 white Pennsylvania residents who have been fully vaccinated, 413,000 white individuals. An additional 413,000 white individuals have been partially vaccinated. We look at right now in Pennsylvania, we can barely see how many black people in the state of Pennsylvania have been fully covered by vaccine. Right now, it's a little bit, yeah, it's about 12,000, a little under 12,000 black people in the state of Pennsylvania have been partially vaccinated throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We know that there are far more black people in the state of Pennsylvania. So, the vaccination rates are even lower, are very negligible, at least by what the state is showing for Asians and for other groups as well. And it's interesting with Pennsylvania being, much of else of Pennsylvania being such a red state, in a place where for so long throughout the course of the pandemic, you had like those very white counties and white jurisdictions, heavily white, majority white jurisdictions throughout Pennsylvania, going so hard on telling us that, coronavirus is a hoax and don't mask up and we need to just keep things open. But they rushing to get that, they phased us on that, but they rushing to get that vaccine though, right? They make sure they're getting that vaccine. I just find that just so comical and just so, comical and ironic and just disgusting all in one. There are a lot of those folks out there who are getting their vaccines in other parts of, and this is not just in Pennsylvania, this is happening everywhere, but populations who are making sure, counties that are making sure that they get high vaccination rates. These are the places that were holding back the rest of us from properly responding, because of their politics, we're holding back the rest of us from properly responding or effectively responding to this pandemic. And so I just, at some point, there has to be a reckoning on that. Right now in Philadelphia, so far there have been, about under 15,000 Philadelphians have been partially covered or partially vaccinated. 8,000 have been fully vaccinated. So you're talking about, this is in a city, it's the largest city in the state of Pennsylvania, of about 1.6 million people, and that's your vaccination rate thus far. Obviously, there are pipeline issues that are happening. Still trying to ramp up vaccine production nationally. Everybody's dealing with vaccine availability issues. But you can, the equity portion of this can be fixed. The equity portion is not so much held prisoner by the vaccine development manufacturing issues. Just the vaccine you get, you make sure it's just whatever you get, you make sure it's distributed in an equal manner to everyone. Full stop. Let me go to Patrick out of New Jersey, who's calling in for a reality check. Patrick.
Hey, Charles. How you doing, man?
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing okay. I think you were invoking my name yesterday without saying it. I tried to call in speaking about public comment in the city of Philadelphia.
Oh, no, I wasn't even thinking about you, Patrick, but thanks, though. Yeah, I mean, I know now you just reminded me. Yeah, I know sometimes you talk about public comment, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say you had mentioned, you had said that, people, being able to comment on anything they want at the city council is something that, is not allowed and should not be allowed. You made the comment yesterday, and I think that what's so sad about that is that's not the law. The Sunshine Act is pretty clear. Mm-hmm. And I would suggest there's a woman, her name is Melissa, I think Lewinsky, or Lewis, from the PA Media Project. Mm-hmm. They basically say what can and cannot be allowed. Sunshine Act is one of the big things that they do. And she's very clear on saying that, there needs to be a portion of the city council that allows for open public comment. You can have two different sections of public comment, right? You can have the one for agenda items and the one on open public comment. So I'll use.
I think I said that too. I was saying that I think during that for the agenda items, but thanks for making that distinction for the agenda and that clarification. But for the agenda items, yeah, I still agree. I'm like, come on there, just follow the rules and come on there.
Yeah, but
find out what bill you want to talk about. And provide comment on that. But I've been railing on City Council, hey, we got to figure out for just an open, constant stream, which I think should be something that should be provided or accessible 24 hours. But I don't know how logistically how you're going to have like a separate public comment period on just about anything anybody wants to talk about.
Well, Charles,
during that. I mean, yeah, the city council should, Patrick, but you got to do it in an orderly fashion. Because it's self-defeating if you don't do it. But Pat, wait a second. It's self-defeating, Patrick. You're not going to be able to accomplish anything if you just have people lining up, hundreds of people lining up, just talking about whatever.
You're not understanding, though. You don't understand.
What's that?
Every other major city in Pennsylvania allows it.
Well, I mean, I don't know about how I don't know how orderly that is or disorderly that is, but we got to figure out it has to be done. I'm for it. I'm for transparency. I'm the first person to argue for more transparency.
How many people made a public comment? How many people made public comment at today's city council?
Just one.
One person out of a city of almost 2 million.
So you must not have been listening in when I've been talking. I've been railing for the past several weeks about that. Like,
the reason
it's disappointing.
is because people are pigeonholed on what they can comment about. You have that one guy that used to show up at every single city council meeting.
But you know what, Patrick? I will say this. No. I'm not gonna go for that argument. I think to a certain degree that's kind of a cop out because because it's listen to what I'm saying. Hey, hold on a second, because it's like I think on one end it is up to the city council and up to the city's political class. They've got to let people know about these bills that they're talking about and introducing, so people can go into public comment period and during that agenda item session, and comment on those. But it's also like if it's not like people are being pigeonholed when the information we're trying to get. You can go to phlcouncil.com, go to Legistar, and also find if you really truly wanted it go and participate in that public comment period.
Charles, let's be clear here. The bills, once they reach that portion on the final passage calendar, they've already been tallied up on which way people are going to vote. So public comment means to those bills about as much
so should we be having I would say this, Patrick, shouldn't we be having a conversation about how people can participate in public comment during committee hearings?
Sure, but you already can do that. But what I'm saying is every other council gives a chance. Open public comment gives you the chance to hold representatives accountable for things that people don't want to talk about.
I agree. I think you're on the same page, but you're making it seem like I'm not for that level of transparency.
The Philly City Council is like a dictatorship. Darrell Clark is like a dictator. He decides what can and cannot be said at City Council, and that's just not right.
Well, I would say this, Patrick, because I've been talking about this, we have to figure out, and I want to do it in a way that's deliberate and not just like freestyle and loose, where it's like, okay, let's just set up a period. But think about it, Patrick, it's not productive if it has to be done in a way. I agree with you. We need more public participation and public comment when those agenda items are discussed. And we need to figure out a very orderly and effective way so everyone's heard. Because you're going to get a lot of people frustrated who are going to start complaining about this mass open. I can see it happening, where they're going to be like, well, and it's well known and everybody's participating, but then, they're standing in line. And, they feel like they're not getting that opportunity to participate because it feels like, all I'm asking for is, without going into too much weeds right now, I'm just asking for, yes, I want there to be more communication between city council and residents. But if we're going to do it, then do it right. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I mean, the other conversations is like the weeds and the devil in that details. I just want it done right and done effectively and done in a way that's impactful. I'm not the type of person who likes to just have people roll up and just start talking about anything they want to talk about and it not lead to anything. That's not productive for you or me or anyone else who participates in that kind of activity. All right, I got to wrap the source with Andrea. Thanks for calling, though, Patrick. It's a very good discussion. I do want to talk about it more, and let's figure it out. All right, the source with Andrea Lawful Sanders is coming up next here on WURD. That wraps the Thursday edition of Reality Check, City Council Live, and I hope to be back, God willing, on Monday, 10 a.m. sharp with Reality Check. I want to thank Troy Wilmore as well. I want to thank the Philadelphia City Council for making City Council Live possible and giving us the ability to deliver it to you. I'm Charles Ellison. Philly and beyond, I want you to stay smart, stay sharp, but more importantly, please stay safe out there and share. All right, have a great weekend.